Hello! Welcome to Essay Nights, the Essay Slayers. My name is Julie and I will be your instructor as we read through Healthcare Development Ireland Health Dissertation. The article source is embedded in the video description below. Feel free to read along. Please note that you can get a custom, plagiarism-free essay for as little as $10 a page at Essay Nights. The link is in the description. Is ICT a key enabler in ensuring seamless delivery of healthcare? A comparison between public and private ICT development in Ireland. The study discusses the innovative changes that have taken place in Ireland in the field of healthcare due to the influx of information and communication technologies. Previous information communication technologies, ICT, including telemedicine, present opportunities to address rural health service delivery issues. The research shows that effective management of health services and the delivery of quality systems in Irish healthcare organisations have increased. In Ireland, patients are expecting more of healthcare providers and are demanding higher standards of care and service. Simultaneously, those paying for health services have become more concerned about rising health costs and possible inefficiencies. As a result, there is widespread interest in understanding what makes for an effective health service and in developing better practices to improve existing approaches to healthcare management in relation to ICT. This study highlights the developments in quality service management in the Irish healthcare sector and focuses attention on the need for the development of a model for quality implementation in healthcare institutions. In sum, the study shows that the development of ICT has facilitated the emergence of a complex global urban system in which many formerly lower-order cities have been carving out niche specialist functions serving urban fields of transnational dimension. The purpose of this study is to highlight the development of the information and communication system in Ireland and how it has revolutionized the healthcare sector in Ireland. The study is quite significant as it shows that the concept of globalization has secured remarkable currency in the academic discourse of the late 20th century. Despite ongoing questions regarding both its meaning and extent, Clark and Lund, 2000. The development of internationally integrated production and distribution systems, seen by many as a key feature of globalization, has been a spatially uneven process. A key factor in this respect has been the differential ability of regions to engage in the informational economy, based on new information and communications technology, ICT, which is the main source of wealth creation and economic growth in the modern world. Castles, 2003. The result has been what Friedman, 2005, calls a process of techno-apartheid which has divided the globe into fast and slow worlds. Knox, 2005, distinguished by the connectedness of individuals, groups and regions to the world of telematics. This echoes Ingersoll's, 2003, quoted in Knox, 2005, suggestion that the key division of the workforce is now that between those who have the capacity to operate ICT, the cyberproletariat, and those who do not, the lumpen trash. Golding, 2006, makes a similar distinction between the techno-literati and the technopoor, while Knox defines the fast and slow world spatially, equating the former with the triadic core and the latter with the remaining global periphery. Hoogveld, 2003, argues that the divide is, in essence, social rather than spatial, with elements of both worlds to be found in all regions of the globe. Thus, within advanced economies, a process of social polarization has been widely reported, Friedman, 2006 and Sasson, 2004, and has been intimately linked by Graham and Marvin, 2006, to the development of ICT use. This is not to suggest that those who work in the fast world are homogeneously well paid and affluent. Rather, they represent a wide range of remuneration levels depending on such factors as economic sector, location, function, ethnic group and gender. Castles, 2006. What they do tend to have in common, however, is relative employment security due to the high demand level for their ICT skills. The study follows a logical approach and identifies the fact that both in Ireland as well as globally, there are major geographical variations in the relative balance between fast and slow worlds, with the former mainly to be found in the traditional core regions of North America, Western Europe and Japan, and an additional small group of newly industrializing countries which have had the institutional capacity to invest massively in modern ICT and associated educational infrastructures. Freeman, 2004. The slow world, found predominantly in the less developed countries of the global periphery and accounting for the bulk of the world's population, is becoming increasingly marginalized and is moving, as Castles, 2003, pages 37, puts it, from a structural position of exploitation to a structural position of irrelevance. ICT, information and communication technology, it is the study or business of developing and using technology to process information and aid communications. System is soft systems methodology, stakeholder analysis and participative simulation modeling. NHS, National Health Service, the organisation providing national healthcare services in the UK. The process of quality implementation has become a key concern for those involved in hospital management in Ireland. In a national context, the effective management of health services and the delivery of quality systems in healthcare institutions have increased in significance in recent years. In line with wider developments in other service industries, consumers, patients, are expecting more of healthcare providers and are demanding higher standards of care and service. Simultaneously, those paying for health services have become more concerned about rising health costs and possible inefficiencies. As a result, there is widespread interest in understanding what makes for an effective health service and in developing better practices to improve existing approaches to healthcare management and delivery. In 2005, a comprehensive report on funding from the Commission on Health Funding highlighted that solutions to the problems faced by the Irish Health Service did not lie primarily in the system of funding, but rather in the way that services were planned, organised, and delivered. Similarly, in a report from the OECD, 2003, it was argued that although the Irish health system had delivered a continuous improvement in health standards, there was still scope for further improvement in efficiency, and that this could be achieved through better allocation of resources. More recently, the Government Health Strategy, DOHC, 2001, highlighted the requirement for a system to monitor progress and systematically evaluate the quality and effectiveness of health services. According to the strategy, monitoring and evaluation must become intrinsic to the approach taken by people at all levels of the health services. Specifically, the strategy suggested that the way in which health and personal social services are planned, organized, and delivered has a significant effect on the health and well-being of the population. Organizational structures must be geared to the provision of a responsive, adaptable health system which meets the needs of the population effectively and at affordable cost. One of the guiding principles inherent in the published strategy was that of a people-centered health system. A responsive system must develop ways to engage with individuals and the wider community which receives its services. The health system must become more people-centered, with the interests of the public, patients, and clients being given greater prominence and influence in decision-making at all levels. DOHC, 2001, according to Bowers, 2001, major structural reform, coupled with strong management and political will, are required to ensure change for the better. In Bowers' view, finance alone will not improve the system. Rather, a concentrated effort must be made to ensure a responsive and efficient service. As previously noted, a conclusion of the report of the Commission on Health Funding, 2005, was that the solution facing the Irish health services did not lie primarily in the system of funding but rather in the way that services were planned, organised, and delivered. This is reinforced by a recent report on the Irish healthcare sector which suggested that the issues and challenges facing the health service are fundamentally the same as those outlined by the Commission on Health Funding, except that they are compounded by much higher expectations demands by consumers. Deloitte and Touche, 2001. Thus, although modern health services have undergone radical change in many areas, Robbins, 2003, managers of health services are currently reporting a large increase in the number of patients needing beds, with consequent ever-increasing waiting lists. Accident and emergency departments are under particular strain, and the difficulties of dealing with the growing needs of the increasing elderly population are beginning to become apparent. Although the Irish Health Service is free for all those requiring medical treatment through a publicly funded system, the current situation is hauntingly similar to that of the Victorian era of healthcare in Ireland. As a result, the Office for Health Management in Ireland, OHM, 2001, has suggested that current deficiencies in healthcare provision and delivery underline the importance of providing quality service management and implementation in Irish health and personal social services. In achieving this aim, the OM has contended that those working within the system must change how they go about their work and how they work together. The focus on healthcare service and quality has evolved from a more general interest in continuous improvement initiatives within the public sector. The prevalent trends in the private sector are towards continuous and pervasive change and increasing interdependencies, and it has been suggested that close parallels can be drawn between the private and public sectors. Public sector organizations now find themselves in a cyclone of change as they attempt to adapt to turbulent environments in a pragmatic and systematic way. Level 2004. In the UK and also in Ireland, these organizations have been subject to cuts in government spending, as well as demands for enhanced efficiency and effectiveness. In response to such changes, there has been a policy shift towards greater competition and an attempt to apply management practices from the private sector to the public domain. The Irish public sector has been officially pursuing change and reform through its Strategic Management Initiative, SMI, a program for improving the management of the civil service which was formally launched in 2004, Department of the Taoiseach, 2004. The SMI evolved from the growing internal and external pressures for better services and for more effective management of public services. In that context, the continuous improvement of customer service has been a specific focus of the SMI since 2003, when the Quality Service Initiative was launched. The program set out a series of quality principles according to which dealings with the wider public would be coordinated and managed. These initiatives aim to make public administration more relevant to the citizens for whom the service exists, and simultaneously sought to remove barriers which have traditionally restricted performance and job satisfaction within the public sector. In recent years, Ireland has experienced a rise in consumerism. Increases in revenue available to fund public service provision have gone hand in hand with rising public expectations of standards of service. As a consequence, management skills and competences in providing for improved standards of customer service have become recognized as being central to delivering real transformation in the public sector. However, the development of such capabilities, particularly in relation to managing effective quality implementation, presents considerable challenges for those involved. Nowhere is this more evident than in the healthcare sector. A review of recent international evidence points to the challenges of implementing quality service in healthcare institutions. Gosher and Coffey, 2000, confirmed that implementing a process of total quality management, TQM, in healthcare is a pragmatic, specific, and systematic methodology. However, this requires a firm commitment from the leadership to change their former ways of working and doing business. Gosher and Coffey, 2000, cited many reasons for TQM failing, including poor leadership and the lack of management commitment, but also noted that revitalization can rejuvenate the process. These authors asserted that the role of those implementing the process is to nurture and breathe energy into the process when enthusiasm and commitment are declining. The importance of the support of senior management for quality management projects is also advocated by Berwick et al. 2000. These authors undertook a national demonstration project in the USA in the late 2000s and described how organizations could implement the entire quality improvement process, from defining the problem through to implementing a solution and consolidating the gains. Berwick et al., 2000, a literature review carried out by Jackson, 2005, identified that much work had been undertaken in the UK in determining the clinical effectiveness of many healthcare organizations, but that very little research had been implemented in the area of managerial effectiveness. Furthermore, West, 2001, determined that, in organizations that outperform others on different dimensions of performance, there was evidence that management is important, as are the combined efforts of individual clinicians and teams. There have been several approaches espoused for achieving quality management in healthcare institutions, many of which have been technical and generic in their approaches. Miller et al., 2000. Specifically, Don Abedian, 2000, introduced the concepts of structure, process, and outcomes, along with the development of self-assessment and accreditation through the International Organization for Standardization, ISO. In many instances these programs have met with mixed reactions, and their implementation has varied. A criticism leveled at hospital performance is that it has been rather insular, and has paid little attention to developments in related fields, such as organizational sociology, organizational behavior, management studies, and human resource management. West, 2001. If quality programs are to have lasting and significant effects, that they must follow a systemic approach such that all aspects of an organization are integrated and focused on continuous improvement and customer satisfaction. Joss, 2004. A variety of approaches has been used to improve quality and to ensure its delivery, but not all have been successful. Indeed, some have merely added bureaucracy and higher costs to healthcare. Jackson, 2005. Ennis and Harrington, 2001. Recent research has shown that 45% of patients experience some medical mismanagement and that 17% suffer events which lead to a longer stay or more serious problems. Of Redford, 2000. This is increasingly caused by complex systems of care which do not appear to be managed effectively. Joss and Kogan, 2005, strongly recommended that a comprehensive set of criteria be included, against which to evaluate progress. These criteria should be based on the main requirements of TQM, and should include any additional factors generated by the organization and/or by evaluators. A 3-year evaluation of TQM in the National Health Scheme, NHS, indicated that there were clear factors which predicted successful implementation, the most important of which was the need to have a structured, pre-planned approach based on a thorough understanding of alternative approaches. Joss, 2004. Moreover, a recent study from the UK, O'Sullivan, 2005, demonstrated how one NHS trust achieved continuous quality improvement through determination, education, and implementation, supported by visionary and involved leadership in all areas, a multi-talented enthusiastic clinical audit department, and a high-quality dedicated staff. Nabitz and Wahlberg, 2000, suggested that possible solutions to quality problems might lie in the approach promoted by the European Foundation for Quality Management, EFQM. The EFQM has developed a model to structure and review the quality management processes of organizations. Self-assessment, benchmarking, external review, and quality awards are essential elements of this model and, as reported by Sanchez, 2000, this approach represents an important means of achieving excellence in healthcare. Within the literature there are also many studies showing the benefits of applying models of quality implementation in healthcare organizations. Naylor, 2005. Ruiz et al., 2005. Such studies have pointed to the real benefits that accrue to organizations which have used such approaches. Pitt, 2005. The introduction of internationally respected quality frameworks, the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, MBNQA, in 2003, followed by the EFQM in 2005, has provided an opportunity for organizations to self-assess, using the models of TQM and business excellence which underpin these frameworks. In this process of self-assessment, an opportunity exists to identify the strengths and weaknesses in the current management of operations. In the USA, the effectiveness of the Baldrige process has been lauded by many. Gosher and Coffey, 2000, who have indicated that organizations can learn about best practices from Baldrige-winning companies, and will thus be assisted in developing a composite for excellence. Although the Baldrige criteria were developed for commercial institutions, there has been keen interest in the adaptation of the model within healthcare organizations in the USA following a pilot healthcare project in 2005. To date, no healthcare entity has yet achieved Baldrige winner status, although Gosher and Coffey, 2000, have asserted that it is only a matter of time before there is a healthcare winner. Moreover, these authors went on to say that the true benefit of the Baldrige process is not about winning an award. Rather, it is about the provision of a roadmap for a journey, a framework for both incremental and breakthrough improvement and business excellence. Within the European context, since its introduction in 2001, the EFQM model has been attracting considerable interest across all sectors, and has become a well-recognized quality management framework. Starr et al. 2001, concurred with Gosher and Coffey, 2000, in stating that the model provides a means by which organizations can assess their path and develop solutions to achieve excellence. Other authors have espoused the model as being surprisingly effective, with awards being presented to those firms considered to be the most accomplished exponents of TQM in Europe. Wilkes and Dale, 2005. Across European healthcare at an institutional level, an increasing number of organizations are making direct investments in the training of staff in the concepts of business excellence. Starr et al., 2001. Jackson, 2001. The NHS executive in the UK has provided a central lead in endorsing the model as an important framework for delivering on the clinical governance agenda. Furthermore, the British Association of Medical Managers, BAMM, has promoted its use as a tool for organizational self-assessment. Starr et al., 2001. Its use and adoption has been further supported by the British Quality Foundation, which provides a major educational and support role in the use and adoption of the model in healthcare and other sectors across the corporate landscape. Without doubt, the future performance of healthcare organizations will be assessed against wider goals than previously. There will be a greater emphasis on measuring organizational performance and, if performance is below par, rapid investigation and appropriate intervention will ensue. Naylor, 2005. Moeller, 2001, concurred with this, and identified evaluation of health services as a prerequisite. However, Zahiri et al., 2005, warned that measuring organizational effectiveness in the delivery of healthcare is a challenging task. Joss and Kogan, 2005, strongly recommended that a comprehensive set of criteria should be included, against which to evaluate progress. This should be based on the main requirements of TQM, supplemented by other organizational criteria thought to be important by the evaluators. A 3-year evaluation of TQM in the NHS indicated that there are clear factors which predict successful implementation, including awareness of the need to have a structured, pre-planned approach based on a thorough understanding of alternative approaches. Joss, 2004. Moreover, as demonstrated by O'Sullivan, 2005, successful implementation requires the support of visionary and involved leaders in all areas, together with dedicated and educated staff. As suggested by Nabitz and Wahlberg, 2000, the solution to quality problems might lie in the approach promoted by the EFQM. As reported by Sanchez, 2000, this approach represents an important means of achieving excellence in healthcare, which concurs with earlier descriptions by Gosher and Coffey, 2000. Self-assessment can examine current practice and establish capability, thus driving improvement rather than a reaction to weaknesses in the current system. Russell, 2005. There are also many studies in the literature which show the benefits of applying the business excellence model for quality implementation in healthcare organizations. Naylor, 2005. Jackson, 2005a. Nabitz and Klazinga, 2005. Arcelay et al., 2005. Such studies have pointed to real benefits that have accrued to organizations using such an approach. Furthermore, Jackson, 2005a, demonstrated that the adoption of the principles of self-assessment and business excellence can lead to the achievement of a culture of continuous improvement. Russell, 2005, noted that the adoption of the outside-in approach of the EFQM model enabled organizations to use the model as a developmental and management framework. For Arcelay et al., 2005, the model provided a global, systematic regular analysis of the activities and results by comparing them with the criteria of the excellence model. Moreover, the process made it possible to make comparisons with other private and public organizations. Using a systems view of an organization enables managers to focus on the processes between the parts of an organization, rather than on the parts themselves, which is similar to physicians using a systematic model in which to analyze signs and symptoms, and thus make a diagnosis. An effective organization is one in which the total organization, through its significant subparts and individuals, manages its work against goals and plans with a view to achieving these goals within an open system. Methods of management that have been developed in manufacturing environments are naturally regarded with skepticism in non-manufacturing sectors. However, according to West, 2001, Studies that have been conducted on the link between the organization and management of services and quality of patient care can be criticized both theoretically and methodologically because of the many different mechanisms that may be operating at once to produce the relationship between volume and quality. West, 2001, asserted that a more rigorous body of work exists on the performance of firms in the private sector, often conducted within the disciplines of organizational behavior or human resource management. Dublin has, in the 2000s, carved out several niche international functions for itself, one of which, call center activities, has been the principal focus of this study. According to a report in the Irish Times, August 20, 2003, Ireland accounts for 30% of all international call centers located in Western Europe. The great bulk of these are to be found in Dublin. The central role of ICT in call center activities has facilitated their centralization in Ireland, from where markets spread across Europe and even further afield can readily be served. As Sasson, 2005, pages 56, has observed, information technologies, often thought of as neutralizing geography, actually contribute to spatial concentration call center activities, therefore, have helped Ireland to escape the bounds of geographical peripherality, thereby contradicting Wegener's, 2005, gloomy prognosis which visualized cities in the periphery as inevitable losers from growing interurban competition in Europe. This has been cleverly portrayed in an IDA advertisement which shows Ireland at the center of a surrounding group of disembodied European countries, Fig. 1. These latter are no longer seen as being more or less distant from Ireland, but as constituting a set of different language and market territories, all equally accessible from Ireland. However, Dublin's growing international reach and the growing technological sophistication of its economic base should not mask the fact that, structurally, it retains a dependent position within the international division of labor. Its rapid recent economic expansion has been largely based on the attraction of branch plant operations which remain poorly embedded in the local economy. Brethmich, 2005. ND. While the rising skill levels associated with recent inward investment have facilitated substantial improvement in living standards generally, in the specific case of the call center sector, much of the employment which has been created remains relatively poorly paid, a fact which is directly linked with the high proportion of women workers in this sector, despite their high skill levels. Furthermore, the rapid growth of the call center sector in the 2000s looks increasingly unsustainable as the end of the decade approaches. Growing labor shortages are driving up labor costs which, in conjunction with increasing housing and transportation problems, are beginning to attenuate Dublin's attractiveness as a call center location. According to a 2005 survey of call center locations in Great Britain and Ireland, reported by Allen, 2005, Dublin had fallen to the 29th position of 46 locations surveyed, having been in the top 10 in 2006. The response of the IDA has been to devote additional resources to promoting non-Dublin locations for call center projects. However, even if this is successful in the short run, in the longer term the future of call center employment will be increasingly threatened by technological developments, such as speech recognition technology and especially the rapidly growing use of the Internet for making reservations, placing orders and seeking information. The IDA has justified its promotion of the call center sector, despite the inferior nature of much of the employment involved, largely on the grounds that it provides an initial base upon which more sophisticated forms of employment can be built. Its long-term strategy, in other words, is to encourage firms which have established call centers in Ireland to add on additional functions, such as financial management and software development, to these initial operations. Already there has been some success in this area of shared services back-office activities. By mid-2003, some 25 such operations had been established, and were projected to employ over 3,000 people by the year 2000, information supplied by Forfez. Ultimately, however, all of these activities remain as back-office activities, whose essential linkages are external to the Irish economy. In other words, their Irish location is not crucial to the parent companies of these operations. Rather, it is contingent on the availability of certain attractions which may either be transient or reproducible elsewhere. Allen, 2005. As Wilson, 2005, has noted, call centers are essentially a highly footloose sector, With few local economic linkages and little fixed investment in machinery and equipment, they therefore can be relocated quite readily in the light of changing comparative factor conditions. The National Health Service, NHS, in the UK published its NHS plan in July 2000, http://www.nhs.uk/. Thence explained, saying that patients and people were central to its radical reform of healthcare and that although this included more hospitals and beds, shorter waiting times and improved care for older people, an essential element was that patients should have more power and information. As Grimson et al. 2000, rightly comment, healthcare is an information-intensive business, with data on an enormous scale gathered by way of hospitals, clinics, laboratories and primary care surgeries. Central to any information-intensive business is, naturally, the effective sharing of that information and, in order to empower and better engage the patient, how best that can be done. Funded by the UK's Department of Health, the British Library's Integrated Telemedicine Information Service, TIS, described in the latest edition of Thence magazine, http://www.nhs.uk/. Thence magazine, is to improve the take-up of telemedicine technology in the UK, reinforcing the importance that information and communication technologies, ICTs, are seen to have in the sharing of information and the engagement of patients in their healthcare. By way of explanation, the word telemedicine has been coined as a way of capturing, in only one word, how ICT is being used in healthcare. However, as Curry et al. 2003, rightly comment, terms such as telemedicine, teleconferencing, health informatics and medical informatics seem to be used interchangeably, and that there is some confusion as to what is, and is not, involved, citing various studies, including those of Preston et al. 2002, and Mark and Hodges, 2001, to support their claim. As there is some disagreement with the term, we use in this study the meaning assigned by Peretnia and Allen, 2005, that is, the use of information technologies in helping to provide medical information and services in healthcare. Whatever its name, or its definition, it concerns, in one way or another, the mediating role that technology plays in the interaction between humans, whether patient or healthcare professional. At the time of writing, there are 138 telemedicine projects in the UK, http://www.tis.port.ac.uk/. tm/hours/projects.uk, and they cover aspects of healthcare as diverse as mental health, diabetes, fetal monitoring and accident and emergency care. Indeed, it points to one of the advantages of telemedicine: its applicability across a wide range of clinical issues. However, while these projects certainly cover a diversity of issues, they have something in common, that is, they address only one of these clinical matters. Each system is designed differently, is unlikely to be compatible with another, and needs different technical support and user training. Whilst such individual systems have proved useful in a particular context, see, for example, Gilmore et al., 2005. Jones et al., 2006. Lesher et al., 2005. Lone et al., 2005. Lloyd et al., 2005. Oakley et al., 2005, the implications for a national healthcare system mean that each clinic, hospital or other healthcare setting would need to purchase a different technological device for each particular healthcare issue. So, a system for diabetes, another for mental health and yet another for fetal monitoring, and so on. In addition, each device would need different technical support and different user training and would, naturally, take up a great deal of space in the workplace. Maintaining such systems would be problematic and expensive, particularly given the rapidly changing nature of information systems today. It would also be very expensive. In a country such as the UK, where scarce financial resources for healthcare come from the taxpayer, it is difficult to see how those managing the healthcare budget would justify the cost in investing in such single, one-issue systems. Another difficulty of such one-issue systems is that a great deal of effort would have to be made in persuading doctors, general practitioners or specialists consultants to use such systems. only around 12% of these healthcare professionals have computers on their desks and, like many, may not embrace technology with the same enthusiasm as their designers. There are, then, two objectives which need to be met if the healthcare service is to be improved. 1. A need to engage the patient more in their healthcare, to empower them and to provide them with more information. This raises the issue of the nature of the interaction between the patient and clinician healthcare professional. 2. To use ICT as effectively and efficiently as possible to support this interaction in both the primary and secondary, or tertiary, care context. In this study we first looked more closely at the challenges in healthcare today, and the need to more effectively support communication and information sharing between patient and clinician healthcare professional. We describe current practice with regard to consultation between patient and healthcare professional, and the nature of the information available to the specialist consultant. We suggest that although the specialist consultant currently gathers information by way of two sources, a third would usefully enrich their knowledge and aid them in their diagnosis and subsequent care of their patients. The use of a clinical information system, A9AYTZ355W, is described, and we demonstrate how this can be used to usefully enrich the interaction both between patient and specialist consultant and the healthcare professional, in both primary and secondary tertiary care. We outline the benefits that A9AYTZ355W, with its ability to be used across the full range of clinical issues, offers and the implications of the system for the healthcare sector. A key element in the globalization process has been the development of growing links between the world's cities, the nerve centers of the informational economy, in the form of increasing flows of information, services, finance and currency, commodities and people. Thus, urban systems which in the past were largely defined in national terms have become increasingly integrated at the global level. This has led to the emergence of a transnational urban system, in 2004, comprising cities of varying sizes, locations, and economic functions. This system is dominated by a small number of world, Friedman, 2006, or global, in 2001 and in 2004, cities, characterized by major concentrations of transnational corporate headquarters, advanced financial and producer services, and communications infrastructures. These are the world's key command and control centers, Amin and Graham, 2003, pages 413, whose functional reach is truly worldwide in scope. Outside this select group of world global cities, the globalization process is causing urban centers everywhere to expand the international orientation of their economic bases. As Gottman, 2005, pages 64, quoted in Simon, 2005, pages 146, puts it, every substantial city nowadays aspires to a world role, at least in some specialty. This makes them expand linkages abroad, participating in more networks. All these trends contribute, little by little, to building up and intensifying the global weave of urban networks. Many cities, therefore, have been pursuing selective strategies for economic promotion and city marketing to establish themselves a profitable market niche in the global economy, Wegener, 2005, pages 150. Typically, these cities place a premium on the attraction of outside capital which, in Friedman's, 2006, terminology, uses these cities as basing points for the articulation of production and markets with respect to specialized sectors or areas. Examples of such cities include Singapore, which acts as a regional headquarters for transnational firms operating in Southeast Asia, Dicken and Kirkpatrick, 2001. Miami, which plays a key role in articulating trade and investment flows between the USA and Latin America, in 2004. And Luxembourg, which has carved out a niche for itself as the largest offshore financial services center in Europe, the Irish Times, February 9, 2006. Due to the limited functional base and/or spatial reach of such cities, they are probably best described as transnational rather than global. While in some cases, their spatial zones of influence may be relatively clearly defined, the growing role of ICT in their operations is rendering traditional concepts of territorial urban hinterlands increasingly meaningless. It may be preferable, therefore, as Friedman, 2005, suggests, to use the term urban field to denote the economic, or, indeed, cyber, space served by such cities. The proliferation of niche transnational cities with specialized functions is giving rise to what Sasson, 2004, pages 52, calls overlapping geographies of articulation. As a consequence, attempts to arrange the transnational urban system into neat hierarchical tiers, see Cohen, 2001 and Friedman, 2006, are increasingly futile, Friedman, 2005. As Knox, 2005, pages 9, has put it, the flexibility of corporations within global networks and the warped of new telecommunications media are constantly revising the role of lower-order world cities. Historically, Dublin developed as a classic colonial primate city in relation to an economic system which, particularly in the 19th century, was dominated by the export of both agricultural produce and labor to the industrial core countries of Great Britain and the USA, Breathnach, 2005. Thus, Dublin acted as the centre of administration, the main port for exports and imports, and the hub of the national transport system, and was an order of magnitude larger, in population terms, than all other urban centres, with the exception of Belfast which, due to specific historical circumstances, developed a substantial industrial base in the 19th century. When Ireland was partitioned in 1922 and independence was secured by what is now the Republic of Ireland, Dublin had a population of 500,000 out of a total population of 3 million in the newly independent state. In the 1930s, Dublin's dominant position was further enhanced by the introduction of a vigorous policy of import substituting industrialization supported by protectionism, as the substantial industrial growth which ensued was mainly concentrated in the metropolitan region. By 1960, Dublin, with a quarter of the national population, accounted for almost one-half of the total manufacturing employment. However, industrial stagnation set in during the 2000s, as the limits presented by the small size of the domestic market were quickly reached. This led the government to abandon protectionism and opt instead for an export-led industrial policy based on the attraction of foreign direct investment from overseas. This policy received a major boost following Ireland's accession to the European Economic Community, now the European Union, in 2003, which allowed Ireland to be used as a low-cost base for serving the European market. This was particularly attractive to American firms, especially given Ireland's status as an English-speaking country with strong cultural historical links with the USA. Since then, American firms have accounted for over one-half of all inward investment into Ireland in structural terms. The new branch plant set up in Ireland developed few local linkages of any kind. Spatially, they also tended to avoid Dublin and other large urban centres, preferring more dispersed locations with little industrial tradition but plentiful supplies of unskilled labour, Breathnach, 2002 and Gilmer, 2002. This reflected the fact that most foreign branch plants were mainly involved in low-skill assembly and packaging activities in the electrical, electronics, engineering and pharmaceuticals healthcare sectors, Telesis Consultancy Group, 2002. Thus, as foreign investment came to dominate the national economy, accounting for over one-half of industrial production and 80% of industrial exports by the mid-2000s, Dublin's role as control centre of the Irish economy, outside the realm of social regulation, experienced substantial erosion, although its position as main service centre for an increasingly prosperous nation saw the population of the metropolitan region grow to some 1.2 million in 2001, one-third of the total. Since the beginning of the 2000s, major changes have been occurring in the Irish economy which have impacted greatly on Dublin's functional role in relation both to the domestic economy and the international division of labour. Consistently high rates of economic growth have led to Ireland being portrayed variously as Europe's tiger economy, the Celtic tiger and the Emerald tiger. From a position where, in 2000, Ireland's per capita GDP stood at just over 60% of the EU average, by 2005 Ireland had surpassed that average. Commission of the European Communities, 2005, a range of factors have contributed to Ireland's rapid economic growth in the 2000s. However, of crucial importance have been a new surge in the inward investment and, more importantly, profound changes in the nature of this investment, Breathnach, 2005. In the realm of manufacturing, there has been a very significant upgrading in the technological content of inward investment and, associated with this, a pronounced expansion in the average size of new projects. This is linked, to a considerable extent, to the growing availability, due principally to demographic expansion and major state investment in education, of relatively low-cost but high-quality technically qualified workers. A common feature of this latest investment phase is that most of it has been concentrated in the Dublin area, a function primarily of the need for large numbers of college graduates, contrasting sharply with the low-skill operations of the 1960s and 2000s, allied to the need for more sophisticated local services. Apart from the emergence of new forms of manufacturing investment, a very significant development in the 2000s has been a shift to inward investment in service activities. There have been three main components to this. Firstly, the establishment of an International Financial Services Centre, IFSC, in Dublin in 2003 has generated a considerable influx of operations attracted mainly by the low tax rates available in its centre. Employment in IFSC licensed firms stood at 6,500 in 2005. Secondly, there has been rapid growth in overseas software operations, CO, 2003, employment in which reached 9,500 by the end of 2003. The vast majority of these are also located in the Dublin region, where relevant skilled personnel are concentrated. The third main component of recent growth of inward investment in services in Ireland has been the telephone call centre sector, which provides the focus of the remainder of the study. The location of telephone call centres in Ireland may be regarded as part of a new phase in the international relocation of back-office activities, a process which in itself is a relatively recent phenomenon. Back-office activities refer to those which require little face-to-face contact with other personnel either within or without the firm. They typically include such activities as payroll, accounting, subscriptions, billing, credit card services, claim processing, word processing, remote sales and reservations, and technical support, for example, for personal computer users. These activities in turn tend to be highly routine, automated and labor-intensive. There has been a growing tendency towards the spatial separation of back and front office activities, that is, the latter being those requiring a high level of face-to-face contact. Technically, this has been facilitated by the development of ICT, which allows both the high degree of automation of information processing and the integration of remotely located back offices with either front offices or the outside world through high-speed and high-volume telecommunications networks. However, the main motivating factor behind the separation of back from front office activities has been the desire to achieve significant cost savings by moving what tend to be a firm's most labor-intensive and therefore space-using office activities out of high-cost central city locations, where most firms locate their head offices, Castel's, 2005, in the case of North American cities. Much attention initially focused on the relocation of back offices to suburban locations where substantial reservoirs of predominantly female skilled clerical workers, who are prepared to work for relatively low wages, can be found. Nelson, 2006. Gad, 2005 and Huang, 2005. More recently, there has been growing interest in the relocation of back-office workers out of metropolitan regions altogether to more remote locations, Castel's, 2005. Howland, 2003 and Worf, 2005. Increasingly, such movements have involved overseas destinations, motivated primarily by the prospect of accessing labor supplies which are both cheaper and frequently of higher quality, in terms of training, reliability and motivation, than those available in the home country. The availability of generous investment incentives has also been an important factor in the offshoring of back-office activities. Graham and Marvin, 2006 and Wilson, 2005, suitable overseas locations for the back-office operations of American firms are not as widely available as in the case of manufacturing branch plants, due to the need for good telecommunications infrastructures and supplies of relatively cheap English-speaking workers with the requisite skills. Castel's, 2005. As a result, the amount of offshoring of back offices from the USA has been limited. The total numbers involved have been put by Wilson, 2005, at no more than 35,000 in the early 2000s. At the same time, Wilson suggests that these movements provide an important pointer to the future direction the global organization of services production will take. Much of the movement which has taken place has been to Caribbean countries such as Jamaica and Barbados. Other destinations which have attracted a significant level of back-office offshoring from the USA include the Philippines, India, China and Ireland. Workers in offshore back offices are predominantly young, flexible and female, mainly as a consequence of socialization and gender stereotyping processes which steer mostly women towards this type of work. The resulting gender segmentation in turn facilitates the utilization of social control processes similar to those which apply to female-intensive manufacturing operations, Bretnich, 2003. Gender segmentation also means that, while back-office work involves higher skill level than, for example, electronics assembly, remuneration is not correspondingly higher due to the continuing tendency to ascribe low pay levels to what is considered to be women's work. Christopherson, 2005, Apt and Mason, 2005, have identified the following as being influential factors in the decision on whether to relocate back offices overseas or not: wage costs, availability of a modern telecommunications infrastructure, cultural and language similarity, availability of skilled labor, stability of the political and social environment, attitude of the host government to foreign investment, foreign currency restrictions and volatility, time zone difference. Of these factors, crucial importance is attributed to the first two. See also Richardson and Marshall, 2006, which, in the Irish case, account for 80% of the running costs of telephone call centers. The remainder are seen as being either supplementary or significant in deciding on specific offshore destinations. The last factor listed applies particularly to back-office activities which are connected online to central home country computers outside home country office hours. Back-office development in Ireland. Apes and Mason's list of locational factors provides a ready explanation for Ireland's attractiveness as a destination for American back-office operations. As regards labor factors, Ireland provides high-quality skilled workers from a well-developed educational system with wage costs which, as Apt and Mason themselves show in relation to both clerical and professional workers, were typically about a half of those prevailing in the USA in the late 2000s. Furthermore, following a major investment program initiated in the 2000s, Ireland now has a very advanced telecommunications infrastructure which offers very competitive rates for high-volume international traffic. Linguistically and culturally, there is a high degree of commonality between Ireland and the USA. The Republic of Ireland also has an extremely stable political system and social environment, while the attitude of the Irish government to foreign investment is extremely positive, with its aggressive marketing of the country as a location for inward investment. Low corporation tax rate, 10% for manufacturing and international services, capital and training grants, advice and other support services, no local content requirements and unlimited profit repatriation. The Irish currency is also relatively stable and there are no restrictions on currency movements. Finally, the minimum 5-hour time zone difference between Ireland and the USA has also proved influential for certain data processing operations which played the pioneering role in terms of the establishment of offshore back-office activities in Ireland in the 2000s. The development of the call center sector in the 2000s, the emphasis in the attraction of back-office activities to Ireland has shifted to call centers, that is, centralized locations from which services such as sales, reservations, information provision, technical support and banking are provided to a dispersed customer base by means of telephone. There has been a general acceleration in the establishment of call centers in recent years, motivated partly by increased attention among firms to customer service and the drive to direct marketing and partly by the growing availability of low-cost and high-volume long-distance telecommunications services, including free phone facilities. Richardson, 2004. Large firms operating in multiple regional and national markets have been moving towards the centralization of call center operations in one location, or a small number of locations, partly due to the economies of scale which can be achieved as a result. Many firms are availing of the consequent opportunity to establish centralized call centers in greenfield locations in order to introduce new work practices, such as variable working hours and local pay bargaining, which may have been difficult in existing locations. Richardson, 2004. While most call centers remain focused on serving individual national markets, there has nevertheless been a significant growth of call centers with a transnational scope of operations. In the case of the EU, call center centralization may be seen as one element of a general process of rationalization of production, marketing and administration among large firms operating on a pan-European basis in response to the thrust towards integration of EU markets. Goddard, 2005. In 2003, the establishment of international universal free phone numbers to replace the pre-existing system of different national free phone numbers has also contributed to this centralization process. Ireland moved at an early stage to promote itself as a pan-European call center location, offering, in addition to the existing grants and tax incentives, the cheapest rates in Europe for international free phone calls as well as low-cost, high-caliber, flexible bilingual staff. When the Industrial Development Agency, IDA, the state agency responsible for promoting inward investment, introduced its call center program in 2002, it projected the creation of 3,000 jobs in the sector by the year 2000. However, this target was achieved as early as 2006 and, by mid-2005, some 50 centers had been set up employing 6,000 persons. American firms dominate the Irish call center sector, accounting for 70% of centers and over 80% of employment. Among the major U.S. firms which have established call centers in Ireland are IBM, Compaq, Dell, Citibank, Hertz and Oracle. Female employment also dominates the sector, accounting for 70% of all jobs. The proportion is higher for the lower-skilled reservations and sales subsectors, and lower for the customer support subsector, which requires technical qualifications and pays correspondingly higher salaries. Apart from the clerical nature of the work involved and the superior telephone skills which women tend to possess, Richardson and Marshall, 2006, a major reason for the high proportion of female labor is the central importance of language skills in the call center sector, as women are much more inclined to study languages in both school and college. For 3/4 of call center companies, the availability of language skills was stated to be either the first or second most important reason for coming to Ireland. Over one half, 55% of call center employees use a foreign language in their work. Of these, 43% are foreign nationals, thus, 23% of all employees are foreigners. Irish nationals are mainly used for the main continental languages, French, German, Italian, Spanish, with foreigners largely used for minority European languages, for example, Scandinavian, Dutch, Portuguese, and non-European languages, for example, Korean, Japanese. Some 90% of Irish call center employment is located in the Dublin region. While good telecommunications facilities are available throughout Ireland, call center firms have been reluctant to locate outside Dublin for fear of being unable to source sufficient numbers of linguists, especially locally resident foreigners with minority language skills. There are also concerns about the availability of suitable office space and support services outside Dublin. Even in Dublin there are emerging problems in getting adequate supplies of workers who can combine linguistic competence with the other skills required: telephone and keyboard skills and technical expertise for technical support functions. This is partly related to the rapid growth of the sector which has exceeded the supply of suitable personnel. One consequence of this has been an increasing problem of high labor turnover, reaching as high as 37% per annum for telesales workers, 25% for customer services and 17% for technical support, which provides the best paid work in the sector. The Telebusiness Salaries and Skills Survey, 2005. In the lower-skilled call center activities such as sales reservations, additional problems have risen because, while technically these activities only require a secondary standard of education, only third-level graduates tend to have the language fluency required. However, these find it hard to accept the routine and repetitive nature of the work they are required to do. Apart from this problem of overqualification, the intensive, strenuous and closely monitored nature of the work also contributes to high turnover, a factor which tends to be universal in the sector. Nelson, 2006 and Richardson and Marshall, 2006. The more technologically skilled call center activities such as technical support, on the other hand, face the problem that Irish information technology graduates, being mainly males who tend not to pursue language courses during the course of their education, in most cases do not have foreign language competence at the level required by call centers. Call center firms are responding to this problem by increasingly importing foreign nationals for this type of work. Of the 700 workers at the Gateway Personal Computer Sales and Technical Support Call Center in Dublin, 35% are foreign nationals. Challenges within the current system of healthcare. The NHS plan is permeated with words and phrases that emphasize the need to involve patients more in their own healthcare. Although it would seem difficult to see how patients could be anything other than involved given that it is their body-mind that is being seen, treated or managed, this suggests that patients are currently viewed more as cases rather than as individuals, as people. That is, that they come into the doctor's surgery with a problem, and it is the problem, rather than the patient, that is being seen. While in some sense this is naturally necessary, as patients want the health problem solved in some way, as in the case of, say, a broken finger being mended or a minor injury being treated, not all patients present things which might be seen as a problem to be solved. Indeed, it might be argued that much cannot be solved anyway. Asthma, psoriasis, mental health conditions and the like do not, and cannot, go away, and it is more that these need to be managed, as effectively as possible, by both the patients themselves, who are, after all, dealing with their healthcare day in and day out, and, on occasion, with the assistance of various healthcare professionals. However, healthcare is as much about dealing with a wide range of everyday issues, such as helping a first-time mother with her new baby or helping someone deal with the death of a loved one. Whether borne out or not, there is a perception, at least, that doctors and consultants, in particular, are viewed by their patients as somewhat distant, over-authoritative and dispassionate. Indeed, the word clinical does not only mean relating to health but also detached, lacking in empathy. Whether stated explicitly or implicitly, there seems to be a call for healthcare professionals to engage more fully with their patients, and to see them more as some kind of partner in their healthcare rather than someone in authority. Patients are somewhat in awe of doctors and, in particular, consultants, and this raises issues with regard to the patient-healthcare relationship. It is first necessary to provide some background as to how healthcare is organized in the UK, as this varies from country to country. In other countries, both in Europe and elsewhere, patients can see a specialist consultant in a hospital without needing to be referred there by their own local doctor. In the UK, this is not possible. A patient must first see their own doctor, known as a general practitioner, whose surgery clinic is normally located close to the home of the patient. The health service provided at this level is known as primary care. It is the responsibility of the doctor general practitioner to refer the patient on to what is known as secondary, or tertiary, care, usually a hospital, where more specialized equipment, and specialists consultants are on hand. As with any healthcare system, there are potential drawbacks, and these have implications for the speed and accuracy of the treatment both at primary and secondary care level. Referring the patient from primary care to secondary care normally involves a lengthy process of letter writing between the doctor-clinician and the specialist consultant in the hospital in trying to book an appointment. The specialist consultant in the hospital then has to contact the patient to tell them of the time and day of the appointment. It goes without saying that this is a lengthy process, and time, for those with serious illness, may be in short supply. S. Merton, 2000, notes, inefficiency and/or inaccuracy can adversely affect not only prognosis but also the nature of any intervention, and the earlier those choices, that is, decisions, are made, the better. The doctor-clinician is somewhat divorced from what happens from that point on, and, given the problems associated with relying on a postal service, normally efficient enough, but the UK has suffered from postal strikes in recent years, to relay communication between consultant, hospital and patient, there is the danger of information either arriving late or, worse, not arriving at all. A patient referred to secondary care may have moved house in the time between first seeing their doctor general practitioner and the first consultation with the specialist consultant. Although this may seem trivial, cases have been reported in the media where this new information has not been conveyed, and this has adversely affected the healthcare of the patients concerned. patients themselves are unaware of the processes going on behind the scenes, so to speak, and so it is not difficult to see that they would not necessarily realize the importance of informing anyone of their change of address. ND. Although they may consider reporting such information to their own doctor general practitioner at primary care level, they would not know who to contact at secondary care level, as the name of the specialist consultant or their place of work would likely not be known. The current nature of interaction and communication. The importance of the doctor general practitioner in primary care is clear. It is the first port of call for the patient. Although the appropriate response may not require further intervention from other healthcare professionals in secondary care, when such intervention is perceived as necessary, effective interaction between patient, doctor general practitioner and, normally, specialist consultant is key. For the patient, who may well have built a good relationship with their doctor over a long period of time, being referred to a specialist consultant in a hospital is not without its difficulties. Among these is the fact that the patient has never met the specialist consultant. Building a new relationship with a stranger is, for many, not easy. This is made more problematic by the fact that they are probably very anxious or upset, and thus not at their best in terms of expressing themselves well, clearly or, importantly, accurately. Yet the value of that initial visit depends not only on what the specialist consultant knows about that particular illness or disease, but on the quality of the information provided by the patient. ND patients, naturally enough, do not necessarily know what is, or is not, relevant information which would help the specialist consultant in their diagnosis and subsequent treatment or care. One of the most vital aspects of effective and efficient care is an accurate, as is possible, record of patient care up to the time when the specialist consultant sees the patient. It is at this time that the specialist consultant makes the vital decision as to what treatment is or is not appropriate, and when this needs to be carried out. The decisions made at that time are crucial to the patient's subsequent care and health, and it is clear that the knowledge and information available to the specialist consultant needs to be as accurate and as full as is possible. Such information is stored in three, at least, different places. 1. Informally, by way of the knowledge and experience gained by the doctor, and or, perhaps, another clinician in the primary care surgery clinic, such as a nurse, who has been involved in the care of the patient up to that time. 2. Formally, by way of the written records that are kept in the primary care surgery clinic. These records are, for much of the UK, at least, kept only in handwritten and not electronic form, although there is currently a move towards the keeping of these electronically. 3. Informally, by way of what the patient knows about their own health, history and experiences. ICT can, and does, play a role in the storing and sharing of patient records that are between healthcare professionals in both primary care and secondary care. ND. With the move to involve patients further in their care, patients themselves may well, in the future, make their own contributions to their records in some way, perhaps from their home computer. That information systems are becoming increasingly more sophisticated is uncontested. Indeed, Roger and Pendharkar, 2000, describe a variety of fascinating technological developments used by the Department of Defense in the USA. However, whether it is sophisticated, which somehow carries with it the assumption that it is somehow better or, at least, good in comparison to whatever was in place before, is of little value, particularly in terms of healthcare. As a report by Payton and Brennan, 2005, on a phone-accessible web-based computer network that was developed for the use of those caring for patients suffering from Alzheimer's disease, demonstrates, an unsophisticated response answered the needs. It revealed that what carers actually wanted was someone to converse with and share ideas, Payton and Brennan, 2005, pages 88, and that access to an encyclopedia into the disease or even a decision-making utility was not regarded as useful by this particular set of users. This has important implications for those developing information systems, namely, that when we are ill or request intervention of one sort or another from healthcare professionals, we do not ask for sophistication, but rather that we receive an appropriate, timely and accurate response. Healthcare is first and foremost about people. Patients and healthcare professionals. The interaction between patient and healthcare professional, or between healthcare professionals in the workplace, may or may not involve a computer, but if it does, its value can only be measured by way of its impact on those it was designed to benefit, that is, the patients. As detailed above, the information currently available to the specialist consultant when meeting the patient for the first time is limited to only two of the three sources available. 1. Formally, by way of the written records that are kept in the primary care surgery clinic and which are sent before, hopefully, the patient arrives. 2. Informally, by way of what the patient knows about their own health, history and experiences. Gaining information by way of only these two sources means that there is a potential for a breakdown, at worst, or a lack of richness in information sharing between those working in primary care and those working in secondary tertiary care, and, vitally, between patient and healthcare professional. We describe how the Advanced Informatics Distributed Medical Access Network, A9AYTZ355W, a clinical information system, can be used to provide the third, vital, source of information lacking in consultations that are not telemediated, that is, informally, by way of the knowledge and experience gained by the doctor, and or, perhaps, another clinician in the primary care surgery clinic, such as a nurse, who has been involved in the care of the patient up to that time. A9AYTZ355W was designed to offer the patient the advantage of a virtual consultation, Clark and Jones, 2001. Clark et al., 2005 A, B, 2000 A, B, 2005. Jones et al., 2005. If the virtual consultation is to work, it must necessarily support as many of the senses that face-to-face consultation offers. Although taste, smell and touch are as yet not able to be transmitted, video conferencing does provide sight and sound, and this can be used to explore, at least, the other three. A9AYTZ355W is a low-cost, video conferencing system, and is augmented by using still digital pictures to provide definition view. During the consultation, the patient has at their side a medically trained person. This person can therefore use their hands or nose to provide the information gained by way of touch and smell, and can also operate the camera should the specialist consultant wish to view a particular aspect of the body in order to aid diagnosis. See Plate 1. Although A9AYTZ355W is in essence a clinical information system involving video conferencing, it also has high-definition images, shared access to data applications and other peripherals or medical systems that might be considered useful in presenting clinical data to either the medically trained person at one end, or the specialist consultant at the other. Communication technology is general and TCP/IP networks are used. However, satellite links have been tested to successfully deliver to remote regions of Greece and, more recently, to cruise ships in the Mediterranean as part of the Metaship project. A9AYTZ355W was initially set up to investigate the provision of digital telemedicine in an area of the world where patients find themselves remote from consultants' hospitals in some way, in this case, 4 hospitals in Greece. 1 in the capital, the CAT Hospital in Athens, and the other 3 in healthcare centers in Corfu, Mykonos and Mytilene, all remote islands off the coast of mainland Greece. It is also used in the UK, and its centre is the Chorleywood Health Centre, not far from London. In terms of the more technical aspects of A9AYTZ355W, the initial design for the virtual workstation is based on a Pentium 2 machine and includes desktop video conferencing, ProShare version 5, a digital video camera for simultaneous analog video and high-resolution digital still image, flatbed scanner, sound card and hands-free speaker phone. Many consultants appreciate diagnostic information in advance of the consultation, so that they can consider their diagnosis and then use the time with the patient more effectively. They also have the opportunity to ensure the quality of the information and that it is complete. This allows them to be able to request further information before the consultation. The system can access data from sources such as digital or digitized X-ray or CT scan for use in the consultation. These can also be transmitted by other means in advance, for example, attachments to email or DICOM. There is, naturally, scope to install all manner of other diagnostic equipment in order to support the interaction between the patient medically trained person and the consultant. The benefits and limitations of teleconsultation using A9AYTZ355W for teleconsultation means that communication and information sharing between patient and clinician healthcare professional in both the primary and secondary tertiary care context is more effectively supported. the nature of the information available to the specialist consultant is enriched by interaction with the doctor healthcare professional, and this aids them in their diagnosis and subsequent care of their patients. Experience with aidment suggests that there are many benefits that are not currently provided by way of the traditional management of healthcare. They may be physical in nature, or more psychological. Although many of these offer advantages to the patient, teleconsultation has much to offer healthcare professionals as well, both in primary and secondary tertiary care. 1. For the patient, by the end of the teleconsultation, they know whether, or when, they will be referred. The decision is made at that point. The advantage of being diagnosed both quickly and with minimum disruption to everyday life and work. No need to wait and worry about when the letter from the hospital will arrive. The patient has met the specialist consultant and has started the initial, important process of building a relationship with the person who will play an important role in their future treatment and care. The patient has the opportunity to ask questions ahead of their meeting with the specialist consultant. This helps to manage their expectations and reduce anxiety about the unknown, that is, what is likely to happen. As the patient is sitting in a familiar clinic, with a familiar doctor healthcare professional, the psychological and physical trauma associated with the subsequent visit to the specialist consultant is alleviated. It may help patients to understand better consultation before they undertake it, and thus to prepare for it better, as well as to help to demystify what is, to many, the unknown processes involved in their healthcare. It provides added reassurance, as they have been closely involved in the dialogue between the doctor healthcare professional and the specialist consultant, and can thus have confidence that both share a common view of their care and treatment. Management of the case is negotiated and agreed by all parties, that is, consultant, doctor and patient, thus the potential to make consultation more effective for all participants. It may help change the current perceptions that patients have of healthcare, namely, that they are relatively passive participants in the process. This brings with it the notion of advocacy. Teleconsultation is a physical, at least, demonstration of the central role that they play in the process, and that they are, or should be, active participants who engage in the management of their own health. For the specialist consultant and the doctor healthcare professional, they are in the same room, virtually speaking, at the same time, with the patient. It is interactive. The consultant and/or doctor can ask the patient as many questions as is necessary to get the information needed to make what is hoped to be the correct diagnosis. As full history as is possible is available from patient health professional, doctor, nurse, or other/records. The patient may be unable, or unwilling, to explain their symptoms or feelings. The doctor healthcare professional, who will have had a longer and closer relationship with the patient, will thus have greater insights into the patient with regard to both their physical and mental state, which may be of use to the specialist consultant. No need for the doctor healthcare professional to amass physical documents and send them ahead to the specialist consultant. This information is available to both at the time of the teleconsultation. The opportunity to call up bring in new information as the teleconsultation progresses. For example, an old X-ray which, until that point, was not seen as significant useful. By the end of the teleconsultation, they know whether, or when, the patient will be referred. The decision is made at that point. Confidence that the patient has received the message about referral. The specialist consultant has met the patient, and has started the initial, important process of building a relationship. The specialist consultant asks questions ahead of their meeting with the patient. This provides an opportunity for the specialist consultant to help the patient to manage their expectations and reduce anxiety about the unknown, that is, what is likely to happen. As the patient is sitting in a familiar clinic, with a familiar doctor healthcare professional, it provides an opportunity for the specialist consultant to alleviate the psychological and physical trauma associated with the subsequent visit. It provides an opportunity for the specialist consultant to help patients to better understand consultation before they undertake it, and thus to better prepare for it, as well as to help to demystify what is, to many, the unknown processes involved. It allows for the doctor healthcare professional and the specialist consultant to have confidence that both share, or not, a common view of their care and treatment. Management of the case is negotiated and agreed by all parties, that is, consultant, doctor and patient, thus the potential to make consultation more effective for all participants. It may help change the current perceptions that doctors, healthcare professionals and specialists consultants have of patients and/or healthcare, namely, that patients are relatively passive participants in the process. This brings with it the notion of advocacy. Teleconsultation is a physical, at least, demonstration of the central role that they play in the process, and that patients are, or should be, active participants who engage in the management of their own health. An opportunity for doctors, healthcare professionals and specialists consultants to learn from each other more about patients, disease, treatment and related aspects of the management of healthcare. An opportunity for doctors, healthcare professionals and specialists consultants to bridge the gap, psychologically speaking, that is seen to exist between primary and secondary tertiary healthcare. As for limitations with regard to admin, as with the adoption of any information system, there are the difficulties associated with using technology in the workplace. Although research demonstrates that patients accept teleconsultation as a medium for communication and decision-making about their health, rolling out admin for use in other surgeries, clinics or other healthcare settings is not just a matter of installing the equipment, although there are technical issues which might limit its uptake on a national scale. One of these limitations is the cost, not only of installation, but also of maintenance and, as anyone who uses computers and related technology knows, a high level of ongoing support is required given the inevitable breakdowns. If there are too many breakdowns, then doctors, nurses and other healthcare professionals will not want to use it, however useful it might be to their clinical work. Another limitation to a system such as admin is that it necessarily changes the relationships between all involved. Although the teleconsultation brings the doctor, general practitioner, and/or nurses, for example, and the specialist consultant together, virtually speaking, it has to date been used with healthcare professionals who are positive and enthusiastic, who have, or feel that they have, the necessary interpersonal and other skills to effectively carry out the interaction and who do not mind having their own weaknesses exposed to others, in particular, to the patient. So, for example, a newly qualified doctor, general practitioner might feel threatened by having to discuss, in front of the patient, an aspect of healthcare with which they are unfamiliar, or admit that they have not carried out certain checks, administered certain treatments already, and so will be reluctant, or even refuse, to use admin. Installing a system such as admin provides an opportunity for all concerned to learn from each other more about disease, treatment and related aspects of management of care. But some are more resistant to change, which is what learning is all about, than others. There is thus the need for further research into the perceptions of a range of healthcare professionals in a variety of healthcare settings in order to ascertain the types of organizations, and people within them, who will be more, or less, likely to embrace such technology. It is also necessary to find out how, precisely, such technology should be brought in stream in a new setting. It has been installed over several years at Corleywood in the UK, and installing and using it elsewhere will likely need new, and perhaps different, methods and approaches. An information system such as admin does, of course, cost money. In order for other healthcare professionals to consider its use in their own healthcare settings, there will be a need to provide further explanation as to what particular clinical issues are likely candidates for teleconsultation and which are not. So, for example, although teledermatology has been used with much success, as referenced earlier in this study, there are some dermatological cases which do not lend themselves to such intervention. The doctor, general practitioner should instead immediately refer the patient to the specialist consultant. The majority of the 138 telemedicine projects in the UK, as described earlier, span aspects of healthcare as diverse as mental health, diabetes or fetal monitoring. However, each system addresses only one health aspect. The significance and value of admin is that it can be applied to use for any healthcare issue. Indeed, one of the limitations of other systems is that they will not be cost-effective if health service providers have to buy a separate system for different healthcare issues. Doing so would not only be more expensive, but it would likely mean a clinic surgery cluttered with technological devices, each of which would require different training and support. It is difficult to see how, In a healthcare climate where technology is little used, that healthcare professionals would be tempted to invest in such a seemingly bewildering array of technological kit, particularly at a time when it is claimed that the health service is regarded as struggling. Although much of this work is carried out with patients and healthcare professionals in the workplace, usually the hospital or clinic, telemedicine is perceived to become even more useful in the future in the care of people in their homes. The need for this is not difficult to see. People are living longer, and demand a better quality of life in terms of health throughout their lives. The demands placed on the NHS are therefore great, and it is very costly to keep patients in hospital or in other government-funded institutions such as care homes for the elderly, the mentally impaired or others who require full-time care and assistance. Such care cannot, at present, be provided in their homes, although it is hoped that when or if such technology is installed in homes, telemedicine will allow the healthcare service to deliver the same, or better, quality of care but without the enormous costs involved. It is not, however, just a matter of financial cost. Telemedicine offers the possibility of involving us more in our healthcare at an earlier age or stage. This has two advantages. 1. Being at home or, at least, as near to home as possible, has psychological advantages that positively impact on our mental, and thus physical, health. 2. There is the possibility that, as we feel more comfortable with the technology and or our confidence grows in approaching healthcare professionals or health issues, many people fear both, we might take a more proactive role in our own healthcare and thus either delay the need for intervention or, at best, manage a potential problem away. Our experience leads us to conclude that A9AYTZ355W has demonstrated its use and efficacy across a variety of healthcare issues as diverse as dermatology, cardiology and vascular surgery. Oncology is soon to join these. It has proved a versatile platform, and as such should prove cost-effective when used in this way. The physical and psychological benefits of A9AYTZ355W to both patient and healthcare professional are such that it allows for richer communication between the patient and the specialist consultant and between doctor healthcare professional and the specialist consultant involved in the health and care of their patient. As can be seen from this study, the roles of both the doctor healthcare professional and the specialist consultant differ from the traditional ones, in particular, the role played by the doctor healthcare professional in primary care. Here, they act more in the role of advocate for the patient during the consultation. Our future research agenda includes looking at how, precisely, the consultation process is changed and, importantly, exploring the impact of this on health outcome. Further research and analysis of teleconsultation sessions so far carried out will reveal to what extent these do, or do not, mirror more traditional consultations and whether such a model varies according to clinician, illness or any other factor. In order to roll out A9AYTZ355W for use in other surgeries, clinics or other healthcare settings, there is a need to find out the technical, social and other issues which might limit its uptake on a national scale. Another is to explore to what extent A9AYTZ355W can be used by healthcare professionals to learn from each other more about disease, treatment and related aspects of management of care, and how this affects the quality of their decision-making. Given that patients are often reluctant to ask questions of medical professionals, despite the spread of internet access and growing awareness of health matters more generally, encouraging and supporting dialogue between patients and healthcare professionals, and between healthcare professionals themselves, is to be much welcomed. There is, however, a need to further explore the nature of this communication, and how best this is to be supported by technology. Decision-making within healthcare may be categorized in two ways. First, there is the decision-making that goes on within the process of care itself. Typically these would be the decisions clinicians and the patient take as part of the processes of diagnosis, prognosis, patient management, treatment and discharge. Second, there are those decisions that take place within and across healthcare organizations that focus on how to improve the delivery of that care and its management. Clinicians, managers, commissioners and purchasers of care, hunters, governments, patients and researchers have an interest in this form of decision-making. This study is concerned with the latter, especially the role of information systems, their integrated development and management within their process. Any attempt at improving the delivery of care and its management today has of necessity to include enhancing the management, quality, availability and use of information and its associated technologies. Human, clinical and managerial, as well as informational parameters and approaches have therefore to define interventions aimed at expanding the impact of information technology in a health context. Of particularly interest are approaches, methodologies, tools and techniques that enable the integrated development of clinical care and its management, with that of information systems and technologies. The discipline of health informatics has grown up to research and develop approaches to support practices in this arena. The main aim of this study is to examine three approaches that facilitate integrated development, namely, System as Soft Systems methodology, stakeholder analysis and participative simulation modeling. They are a major component of ongoing practice-based research into health informatics being undertaken by the Center for Health Informatics and Computing, http://www.brunel.ac.uk/ research/sheet/html at Brunel University. Their potential synergies and further directions for research based on emergent principles for health informatics will be the subjects of the concluding discussion. Synergies in integrated development approaches. The three approaches, System, PSM and stakeholder analysis, along with their tools and techniques have to date been developed separately but in the future offers synergies that could be exploited to further support the decision-making associated with integrated approaches to health informatics research and development. For example, the simulation modeling of PSM may be used within System to create agendas for strategic and operational decision-making or to reconfigure clinical processes which result from it. Conversely, the models within System, particularly the developmental models of Cycle 2, can be used as a source of entities on which to base PSM simulations. Stakeholder analysis can be used within System and PSM to identify those clinicians, managers and patients necessary to achieve robust accommodations on decisions that would result in effective decision-making and subsequent development of clinical practices and processes. Any instance of using System and PSM offers an opportunity to undertake research into the descriptive, instrumental and normative roles identified within stakeholder analysis, and that in turn will enhance the decision-making within System and PSM. The three approaches, System, participative simulation modeling and stakeholder analysis, form a complementary triumvirate capable of supporting decision-making, integrated ISD and organizational solutions within the complex multi-organizational situations that constitute healthcare. The emergent health informatics research and practice agenda information systems were initially developed and used in commercial and public organizations to automate mundane tasks. This is certainly the case within healthcare in the UK NHS, where information systems have been used for the past 30 years to capture and store basic patient data and post-hoc basic coded episode of care activity, going, 2004. These were collected to provide governmental central returns and used in performance assessment, planning and in parliamentary debates. Systems to support appointment bookings were also common. Finance budget and audit systems as well as basic payroll and personnel systems have also been used for quite a while. Within other countries, the US for example, Johnson, 2000, similar systems were used to underpin episode of care costing and billing systems. Data for ad hoc management reporting had to be downloaded into an analysis package for any additional analysis. These environments were mainly administrative and supported basic management functions. They had little relevance to the work of a clinical practitioner in caring for the patient. More sophisticated information systems were to be found within pharmacies, stock control, or in laboratories or pathology labs. Clinicians often develop their own systems to support clinical audit or within specialized units such as the management of kidney failure. In primary care in the late 2000s and early 2000s there were over 200 GP applications on the market, many supporting only one or two practices. These numbers, as in hospitals and community care, have been dramatically reduced to 5 or fewer major application suppliers. Few if any of these systems could talk to each other. Organizational integrated ISNT environments were few and far between. Communications between healthcare organizations have typically been by primary technologies: letter, fax or phone. Discourses between clinicians within health organizations were and still are predominantly either face-to-face, by phone, or via common access to a patient's notes. The notes, far from being a simple record, are a complex medium which mediates the workings of the variegated clinicians who convene around a patient over one or a series of episodes of care. Burke, 2003, usually within the boundaries of a single healthcare organization. Its role lies in orchestrating the clinician's discourses and actions that make up the processes of care across time and space. Often they contain idiosyncratic and localized languages shared by only a few clinicians. They are often difficult to interpret from outside the organization, department or even a particular episode of care, despite being relied on within medical litigation cases. Clinical notes are an essential component of the care process. Any electronic solution, even if it is only used in parallel with the clinical notes, has to accommodate to this study environment or lose clinician buy-in. Clinical decision support systems have also been an area of specialist development and have featured within healthcare over the past 30 years, often involving academic departments. They have been used, for example, to support educational activities, for example Godin et al., 2005, Strategy Making, Forte, 2004, or interpret the context of decision-making within a healthcare system, Hackney et al., 2005. Pharmaceutical companies have used other decision support systems to support drug development. Decision support capabilities have been built into drug ordering systems to ensure accuracy of prescribing and avoid polypharmacy contraindications, patient deaths and litigation. Technicians in medical labs have also used them for biochemical analyses of body fluids. The most sophisticated decision support systems use artificial intelligence techniques for medical diagnosis and image analysis, for example Lane et al., 2006. Mikulas and Prensa, 2005, present a detailed review of research on machine learning in medical applications. Examples include the use of electrocardiograms, Burles et al., 2006, fiber optic confocal imaging, Delaney et al., 2005, magnetic resonance images, Hanka et al., 2006, neural network-based image interpretation, Karkanis et al., 2005. 2000, or signal classification, Guo et al., 2004. Karkanis et al., 2005. Yip et al., 2000. Despite attracting a great deal of academic interest, such systems are not in widespread use and have often failed to deliver what was at first promised. However, a model, Atkinson, 2003. Atkinson and Peel, 2005, is emerging, certainly within the UK, of the development of a much more sophisticated and integrated health information systems environment, one focused on the patient and the provision of care, from which all other clinical and managerial information will be accrued. The recent NHS Executive, 2005, Information Strategy and the introduction of a, not altogether successful, NHS Anderson, 2005, which links all healthcare organizations across the UK, exemplify this. The model is founded on the development of an episode-based electronic patient record, Atkinson, 2003, and an individual patient electronic lifetime health record. Both are dependent on supporting the clinicians delivering care to a patient either within or across healthcare organizations. Each gives access to a great deal of information on the patient's past history to support clinical decision-making and patient management. In addition, data is captured and made available to clinicians over a single or series of episodes of care, similar to those within a set of study notes. This electronic environment also enables transaction data to be captured when clinicians electronically order clinical tests, drugs or treatments, which can be based on agreed protocols that avoid, for example, the misprescribing as described above. Text-based communication with other healthcare professionals such as general practitioners, GPs, community nurses or tertiary specialists are also enabled through this environment. At a higher level of sophistication, this model provides access to clinical knowledge environments, internally or via the built-in databases, or externally via the NHS or the WWW. These contain clinical decision-making protocols and care pathways, drug formularies and interactions, medical research evidence databases on which to base care. Even more sophisticated environments contain electronic care pathways that can capture and monitor progress, prompt clinical actions and flag up variants on which to base clinical decision-making. They also, if complied with, enable GPs or community nurses to make direct referrals to consultants and hospital services. Because all this data is electronic it can be automatically collated to provide management activity information for financial, resources and services monitoring development and strategic planning purposes either on an ad hoc or regular reporting basis. The same environment enables the care provided by individuals or teams of clinical practitioners to be audited for the purposes of enhancing care competencies and standards as well as improving the process of care and the pathway on which they are based. This model is currently being realized throughout the NHS, to, of course, a greater or lesser degree of maturity, driven by central government to a fixed time frame. Of course all this is predicated upon the ability to first integrate existing legacy systems with new patient care-based applications, which in turn are integrated with sophisticated data storage and access capabilities. An architecture that will, for historical reasons, be difficult to realize in many hospitals. Second, to then communicate, securely and with assured confidentiality across healthcare organizations. Third, for healthcare organizations and government to identify the capital financing and year-on-year funding to underpin procurement. Fourth and most importantly, to deal with the politics and stakeholder sensitivities which surround the realization of this model. Not only in getting the clinicians and managers to use the new electronic environment, but also to deal with the fact that all this information makes what was once opaque now visible. To do this in an atmosphere that has been traditionally rife with professional demarcations and jealousies within and between the clinical and managerial cultures that exist at both local and national levels is not unachievable, but will not be easy. It is worth emphasizing that the healthcare context differs from other information systems application domains in that it often concerns sensitive and confidential information and leads to critical decisions on people's lives, or quality of life. Thus, stakeholder conflicts have more of an impact than in other areas such as business. Interestingly, healthcare is an area with quite intense differences of values, interests, professional backgrounds and priorities amongst key stakeholders. Indeed, the new model of an integrated environment is predicated not only on improved information but also on a new government model of healthcare delivery. This is enshrined within the UK in the government's Department of Health, 2003, White Study The New NHS, Modern Dependable. It involves both structural changes toward a primary care-driven health service linking operationally all sectors together. It also involves a far more rigorous attempt at openly monitoring clinical practice. Through, for example, evidence-based medicine and the monitoring of individual clinician behavior based on annual appraisals and clinical governance, both centrally and locally. This is an attempt not only to improve care but also to shift the balance of power that currently resides with clinicians over the care process to government and NHS managers, the outcome of which is yet to be settled. The new information systems environment is being driven not only by technical and informational need but also by a political agenda. The government is seeking to embed its political interests in the new health information model, Bloomfield et al., 2002. The Actor Network Theory, Walsham, 2003, of Callan, 2001, and Latour, 2003, refers to this as the process of inscription. The particular and perhaps unique features of the healthcare context the authors wish to argue necessitate research in clinical decision and practice support systems that should not only build upon but also expand the current research agendas. Further issues relating to information systems management, development, implementation and evaluation that characterize the current business information system research agenda are relevant to healthcare but need to be shaped to fit this complex environment. For example, they involve issues related to user participation and problem-solving, requirements engineering, and failures, as well as change management and organizational and political impact. Given the complexity of the context, health informatics cannot simply focus on technical or information systems aspects alone. It has to take account of the relationship with clinical and managerial processes and practices as well as deal with multiple stakeholders and organizational cultures and accompanying politics. The multiplicity of stakeholders, though, as explained later in the study, cannot be treated as purely backdrops to information systems, IS, design and implementation, as merely providers of IS requirements or users, Pulati and Whitley, 2003. On the contrary, they must be considered the central focus of any health informatics intervention. Health informatics often engages, Burke, 2003, in changes to clinical and managerial practices and processes, only part of which is the introduction of new IS ante. Any health informatics development approaches, and for that matter research, certainly within the UK, has to take account of a wide range of factors, encompassing an increasingly sophisticated information systems and technologies environment spanning across organizations, incessant structural changes within and across healthcare organizations, the need to accommodate multiple stakeholders, healthcare's dependence on the application supplier industry, the endemic politics of healthcare as well as governmental policy making and legislation, in fact the whole socio-technical spectrum. To this effect, a wide range of disciplines are involved both in practice and research that of necessity encompasses both social and scientific technical disciplines. In response to this emergent agenda, the authors of this study through the Brunel University Center for Health Informatics and Computing, CHIC, are researching into methodologies, approaches and conceptual frameworks that focus on the integration of ISMT in organizational development within healthcare. This is being carried out through the support of both the grant-awarding bodies, Al-Dabi et al., 2005, and commissioned consultancy from the government, Atkinson, 2005, EU, individual healthcare organizations, Atkinson and Dunlop, 2005, and the private sector. In the following sections, 3 emergent approaches and frameworks are explored, namely the soft information systems and technologies methodology, Atkinson, 2000, stakeholder analysis, Pulati, 2003, 2005, and participative simulation modeling, Al-Dabi et al., 2005. These approaches take into account the multidisciplinary nature of the research context. They are being actively used to facilitate decision-making to address issues within the integrated socio-technical development of information systems with clinical and managerial practices in healthcare. An approach capable of facilitating interventions as well as underpinning research within the field of health informatics is the Soft Information Systems and Technologies Methodology, SISTM, Atkinson, 2003, 2000. This approach has been developed through a series of participative multidisciplinary projects within healthcare settings that incorporated and integrated IS and organizational development. SISTM is a second-generation soft methodology, driven by problem situations in which an explicit need arose to deal with issues and exploit opportunities in which technologies, especially information systems, IS, are paramount. It is based upon the underpinning concept of the human-machine activity system, Atkinson, 2003, 2000. This enables technological activity to be represented within the soft modeling tools and techniques on an equal basis to that of the human, as Callan, 2001, and Latour, 2003, would advocate, and also to integrate them directly with traditional ISD tools and techniques as well as approaches to process reconfiguration and cultural development. Burke, 2003, pages 89, illustrates this environment when exploring the nature and use of decision support tools within care. An emergency ward is an assembly of humans and things whose function is to primarily deliver care. The work of doctors and nurses articulates with the functioning of monitors, of order forms and laboratory routines to keep an intensive care patient stabilized, to treat the acute traffic accident victim, or to provide long-term care to a chronic diabetic. The Soft Information Systems and Technologies Methodology Cycle system is similar to that of Soft Systems Methodology, Chickland and Scholes, 2000, however it has 2 cycles. The first follows the traditional soft cycle, culminating in a debate and a high-level strategic decision to act based on robust accommodations amongst multiple stakeholders. The second cycle takes this high-level decision and seeks to realize it through operational decision-making, based on an overt, often contractual, commitment amongst relevant stakeholders, followed by the real-world integration of IS and organizational design, development and realization of anticipated and emergent benefits. In both cycles, the decision criteria deployed are systematic desirability, cultural feasibility, value-adding, technical feasibility and ethical defensibility. These stem from both SSM and actual practice. The twin cycles form a potentially never-ending process of inquiry, decision-making and action in the real world, from which comes the possibility for learning. Both cycles within system contain soft tools. Cycle 1 has the traditional, but in this case, human-machine conceptual models derived from relevant systems, based on root definitions and cat-row analysis. In addition, there are expressive models. Stakeholders define models of existing or possible activities that they populate with information-machine activities, and strategic matrix models. The latter consist of a multidimensional human-machine activity matrix covering all or part of an organization or across organizations. On one axis are problematical and/or strategically important organizational competencies, in the form of stakeholder-identified, relevant systems and, on the other, a series of stages of ISMT development. Each cell formed by the intersection of two axes incorporates within it ISMT functionality and output, business processes, OD requirements, informational and organizational benefits, risks, and organizational location. The model defines a strategic human-machine maturation pathway for the organization, including its ISMT cycle 2 deploys the same tools as cycle 1, but here their status is developmental rather than strategic or high-level. From the human activity conceptual and expressive models in cycle 2, data flow diagrams, entity diagrams, use cases, as well as process redesign and organizational development can be directly derived. Atkinson, 2000. Systems models have been used, Warrington NHS Trust, 2003, to define a strategic multi-stage IS maturation pathways and underpin applications procurement output-based specifications, Atkinson and Dunlop, 2005. Work is currently underway exploring the factors that have to be incorporated in system modeling to enable technical architectures to be identified and how process-grain dialogues specified. The importance of stakeholder identification, involvement and analysis within system is evident from the previous discussion. Linking system modeling explicitly to stakeholder analysis and exploring its role in supporting healthcare simulation modeling research is an emergent area of research and methodological development within SHIC that will be discussed later in this study. Stakeholder analysis. The presentation of system in the previous section indicated the importance of recognizing the role of multiple stakeholders. Their presence necessitates that health informatics accommodates multi-professional working practices, multiple political interests and agendas, and a multiplicity of information systems and technologies. These are not only important but also necessary features of effective interventions and research. In health informatics, stakeholders are present in many forms, as active participants in the problem-solving process itself, as components within the models, tools and techniques, as decision-makers, and as a necessary constituent of any resulting interventions. Research within SHIC aims to systematically, Pulati, 2005b, identify and record the perceptions of relevant stakeholders. Relevant work in strategic management has failed for the most part to provide a systematic method for the identification of stakeholders. This is also the case in information systems research, where there is often the assumption that a discussion on users, developers and managers can provide a comprehensive discussion of stakeholder issues. However, the increasing complexity of the information systems context points to different conclusions. Pulati and Whitley, 2003. In order to provide a systematic tool for the identification of stakeholders, a set of principles of stakeholder behavior that guide stakeholder identification and analysis have been suggested, providing a rich insight in the study of interorganizational systems and new organizational forms as it leads to the identification of non-obvious interested parties. Pulati and Whitley, 2003. Using stakeholder analysis in healthcare research. In healthcare, the identification of stakeholders has been particularly interesting in the case of the NHS. Pulati, 2003. Whitley and Pulati, 2001. This is a nationwide network that has been recently introduced in the UK to enhance communication and information exchange between various healthcare providers and administrators. Despite its technological success, the network's adoption has been problematic because key stakeholders, namely the medical profession, have not been convinced that it meets, or that it will ever meet, the necessary guidelines for safeguarding the confidentiality of patient data. using a stakeholder analysis perspective. However, we have been able to study the various interests, power and access, in A9AYTZ355W and A9AYTZ355W, 2005, of the stakeholders to this information system or the information that it carries. The result has been to unveil a much broader and complex picture that can be used by the stakeholders that wish to understand or improve their position, as well as by decision makers who can learn from this implementation experience for future action. Furthermore, through the interactions of the human stakeholders, the network, a non-human stakeholder, in the sense that it inscribes human interests and values, Walsham, 2003, has changed shape and direction and has been used by different stakeholders as an opportunity to present and support diverse, even conflicting interests. In Donaldson and Preston's 2005 terms, this means that stakeholder analysis can be descriptive, that is, facilitating the description of the various, often conflicting interests and providing a richer understanding of the relevant stakeholders. Also, stakeholder analysis is instrumental, in that the stakeholders can use it to achieve a particular goal. In information systems research, this usually accounts to either assisting in planning and strategy formulation or assisting with information systems development and implementation, A9AYTZ355W, 2005a. Donaldson and Preston, 2005, argue, however, that the core of stakeholder theory is normative. This implies that understanding should drive stakeholder analysis and that the interests of all stakeholders are of intrinsic value to any process of IS development. In the context of healthcare, this calls for a stakeholder analysis approach that is not prejudiced and strives to give voice to all relevant stakeholders. Indeed, the use of the principles presented above aims to facilitate this process. Furthermore, the normative aspect of integrated socio-technical development points out the importance of ethical issues. In the case of the A9AYTZ355W, such issues stem from a discussion on confidentiality. More generally, the use of information systems can create several dilemmas and ethical challenges that need to be investigated. Often, these concern the use of advanced, intelligent technology where the synergy between the technical expert and the medical expert is crucial for identifying ethical concerns and can be facilitated with the use of a stakeholder analysis approach that can be used systematically to this end, Whitley and A9AYTZ355W, 2001. To provide a systematic tool for the identification of stakeholders in this complex context, A9AYTZ355W, 2003, 2005b, has suggested a set of principles of stakeholder behavior that guide stakeholder identification and analysis. Such normative debates are fundamental for stakeholder analysis. In healthcare particularly, the insights of this debate can be used to strengthen the understanding of the complexities and ethical dilemmas that may arise in the use of system and simulation modeling. System considers the ethical defensibility of the socio-technical solutions as critical. However, the experience of using stakeholder analysis in the A9AYTZ355W context suggests that what constitutes an ethical choice may not always be agreed amongst all stakeholders. This signifies that the normative aspect of stakeholder analysis can provide useful insights to system. At the same time, both the descriptive and instrumental aspects indicate that despite the differences, stakeholder analysis can be integrated with system. However, stakeholder analysis does not guide the analyst or the decision-maker towards a model that can then be implemented. This implies that stakeholder analysis could also benefit from integration with system and simulation modeling. The next section explores the relevance of the latter within the healthcare research agenda. One of the main problems that decision-makers in healthcare face, be they clinicians or managers, is the complexity and lack of a well-defined shape for their care delivery process. Dallasy, 2005. Patterns of care for patients represent a good example for such complexity within healthcare. In general, patients with similar illnesses may follow certain patterns of care, but it is usually the case that data is not available to clearly define these patterns and treatments. This means that decision makers may not have a sound understanding of the system from which to devise suitable policies. Another problem associated with healthcare is that usually, as explored above, there is more than one stakeholder involved in setting up policies and decision-making. In such cases, different stakeholders are likely to have different views about the problem and expect different outcomes. It is common for problems to arise due to the lack of communication amongst clinical and managerial stakeholders about how to improve the delivery and management of care. To achieve viable decisions, it is important to understand the complexity of the process. On the other hand, stakeholders should have reliable means of intercommunication. One way to assist in making effective decisions is the employment of simulation modeling techniques. Modeling is needed to enable stakeholders to understand the problem without the need to experiment with the real system itself, as it costs money and lives in the case of the healthcare system. There are three main mathematical or rationally based modeling techniques applied to healthcare decision-making. Those are decision trees and Markov modeling, Roberts, 2002. Carnan and Brown, 2005, and simulation modeling, Paul, 2005. These techniques are generally efficient in solving well-defined, well-structured problems. However, they have limitations when it comes to understanding the problem itself. One of the main limitations associated with these modeling techniques, especially Markov modeling and decision trees, when applied in healthcare, is their static behaviors and their dependency on the availability of a high level of empirical data. Al-Dabi et al. 2000, give a detailed critical analysis of these techniques. Given the ever-changing nature of healthcare systems, having historical data may not always reflect the prospects of the current situation and the impacts any decisions might have on future situations. Simulation modeling has a capacity to cope with some of the problems faced by the other two techniques. Simulation deals with individual entities as well as aggregated entities, as opposed to the other two techniques that deal only with aggregate situations. One important feature of simulation is its ability to evaluate entity states and track them throughout their life cycle, which is a feature that is not available in the other techniques. Al-Dabi et al. 2000. For these reasons, the authors see simulation as a better technique for supporting decision-making associated with solving complicated problems, as it gives an enriched picture of the current situation as well as possible future states and solution options. Simulation, with its current practice, however, is mainly oriented towards solving well-understood problems. The authors wish to propose there that simulation could also be used as an effective means for exploring problems and enabling intercommunication between the stakeholders, participatively. The following section presents an exploration of the uses of simulation in healthcare management and decision-making undertaken within CHIC. It argues that simulation can be seen as an effective means for problem understanding and intercommunication amongst stakeholders. The subsequent section proposes, with illustrations from current practice, that simulation could be used more effectively to achieve a sound understanding of complex healthcare processes. It is worth noting that by simulation in this study we refer to discrete event simulation, DES. Simulation as a modeling technique has been widely used as an aid for decision-making in healthcare, PID, 2006. Klein et al., 2003. It has been used in diverse healthcare application areas, from predicting the increase or decrease of certain illnesses then making decisions about their corresponding treatments, Davies and Flowers, 2005. Davies and Roderick, 2005, through understanding the appointment systems in outpatient clinics in order to make decisions about scheduling strategies, Paul, 2005, to supporting strategic planning given the limited resources available, Pitt, 2003. A growing use of simulation in healthcare is in supporting economic evaluation, Al-Dabi et al., 2005. Halpern et al., 2004. Where simulation is employed, a common objective is to use the models to provide some answers about the problem in hand. This reflects a tendency to see simulation as a way of deriving future outcomes and determining the effect of different model configurations on system behaviors, thus subsequently enabling decision-makers to appraise the implications of their decisions. The main purpose of modeling is to present an abstract picture of the real system and examine the system's responses to different levels of inputs without risking the real system, including people and resources, PID, 2006. This is conducted given the problem is well understood. There are two main reasons for the use of simulation for supporting problem understanding and communication, Al-Dabi and Paul, 2005. First, simulation provides a systematic debating vehicle between the different stakeholders who will contribute to decision-making in the healthcare system. Second, Simulation offers the flexibility to accommodate as many changes as possible in the model either in aggregate or individually, to enhance the understanding of the system. For example, a simulation model allows entities to experience events at any point of time after the previous event without being restricted to fixed time intervals. In addition, the model has the ability to record and retain the entity's history throughout the course of the model, and then this history can be used to influence the entity's future levels and pathways throughout the model. Other information about entities may be needed individually, such as costs and quality of life effects associated with the events undergone. In general, simulation could be used to improve the understanding about the system and capture the relevant elements to the problem, without going into unnecessary details. The model could be used to enable stakeholders understand the system under study and reconsider this understanding while communicating with each other. That is, the model may be considered as a systemic debating vehicle rather than as a calculator. In order to be able to use the potentials of simulation to the maximum and for the purpose of achieving a high level of understanding and intercommunication, the modeling process should provide some facilities. One important factor is to involve the stakeholders in the modeling process from the early stages. The traditional modeling approaches are based on sequential or logical steps for building and using the model. The main problem faced here is that stakeholders have to wait for the model's output to gain an understanding. The authors believe that understanding should not be restricted to the model's results, rather it should be generated as part of its development through an iterative process. It is possible for an acceptable level of understanding amongst the stakeholders to be reached without necessarily the need to go for large amounts of data collection. Al-Dabi et al. 2000, and Baldwin et al. 2005, show how the incorporation of stakeholders in an iterative modeling process helps in enhancing their understanding about the problem and intercommunication. An example is given in the next section. A brief description of two participative simulation modeling projects is given in this section. Both examples portray the use of simulation for enhancing stakeholders' understanding and intercommunication. These two examples represent the modeling of two healthcare systems. The first one is concerned with the randomized clinical trial of breast cancer treatment, and the second example is concerned with the management of a waiting list for liver transplantation. Both examples may have similar objectives, namely economic evaluation. However, the decisions arising from such evaluations are different. The first example discusses the building of a simulation package, ABCSIM, for health economists with the aim of supporting the economic evaluation of the adjuvant breast cancer, ABC, trial. The trial is a collaborative randomized clinical trial, which is in progress in the UK. The principal aim of this trial was to determine the value of adding chemotherapy and/or ovarian suppression to prolonged adjuvant tamoxifen in order to treat women with early breast cancer, Al-Dabi et al., 2005. The main role of simulation in this project is to model the perceived relationships between the economic factors in the treatment of adjuvant breast cancer with respect to reducing the amount of data collection required. Experimentation with the package would then be used to attempt to identify the important variables for data collection and enable health economists to understand the structure of the trial by examining the different responses to changes of configurations. ABCSIM was developed using a simulation package for the structure of the trial and the simulation engine. Visual Basic was used to build an interface for the model because the health economists are not experts in simulation. Building an interface in a way that enables them to make sense of the model, helps them to understand the model and play with it. The inclusion of stakeholders in the modeling process and the accessibility of the resulting models enhanced their confidence and ownership in the model. This model helped health economists to understand the structure of the trial, that is the different patients' flows, which is mainly administered by clinicians. In this case, the model was used as a medium of debate between the health economists and the clinicians to understand the nature of the ABC trial, Baldwin et al., 2005. Another example that illustrates the use of simulation for problem understanding in healthcare management and decision-making is related to managing liver transplantation. This example discusses the use of simulation in an evaluative study for the technology of liver transplantation from a cost-effectiveness point of view. This study is conducted where there are no set rules for the prioritization of patients waiting for transplantation. Another objective of the simulation model is to enable health economists to understanding the technology of liver transplantation and evaluate alternative policies for prioritizing patients in the waiting list. The main objective here revolves around finding an optimum strategy for selecting patients in the waiting list for liver transplantation. Selection could be based on a number of criteria, such as age, waiting time, and level of sickness. One of the main difficulties in problems like this is that there is no specific measurement. For example, health economists may look at the cost-effectiveness of the process regardless, while clinicians may consider provision of care to all patients is the most important. This represents an example of how simulation may be used to enhance stakeholders' intercommunication and convey their understanding. The model, LiverSim, was developed in the same way as ABCSIM. It was developed participatively using a simulation package to build the structure and the interface. In doing so, it enabled the stakeholders to deal with the model in a way that was convenient to them. The interface consists of input facilities and output representations. The interface also included different selection criteria to choose from for stakeholder experimentation to examine which one is optimal. Given the fact that simulation is a dynamic process and presents individual and aggregate levels, all stakeholders involved had the opportunity to present their views about the system through the model in a more realistic setting. Simulation modeling is widely used in healthcare development and decision-making. However, in this study we propose an alternative approach to the existing modeling approaches that may help in enhancing the stakeholders' understanding and decision-making. Simulation modeling is a tool that enables those involved to argue their case through the model. This is particularly important for clinicians, as it is this group of stakeholders who have to treat patients and who are probably the main users of the information from the modeling work. Simulation could allow the clinicians to be alert to the various interrelated factors and to be involved as fully as is possible in the decision-making process so that they can subsequently provide a thorough, reasoned response to their patients. They may, or may not, agree with the decision, but they can choose to present the factors that complicate the process that led to the decision, which is a valuable feature of using simulation. Using simulation also provides a means of ongoing training and development in that discussions or arguments made during the process allow for alternative perspectives on a wide range of diverse issues and care delivery models, many of which extend beyond the decision itself. These might involve personal and local issues such as how to care for and handle feedback to patients, or involve issues of a more general or global nature such as how to ensure that more people donate their organs and how that might best be done. Chapter 3, Methodology Research Design. A qualitative approach was used and the data were collected in 2004. The method that is going to be selected for this study is the qualitative research method. Basically, the quantitative approach pursues facts and is employed when researchers desire to acquire statistical truth. According to Gall and Borg, 2003, quantitative research assumes that the social environment has objective reality that is relatively constant across time and settings, while qualitative research assumes that individuals construct reality in the form of meanings and interpretations, and that these constructions tend to be transitory and situational. The dominant methodology in the quantitative approach is to describe and explain features of the objective reality by collecting numerical data on observable behaviors of samples and by subjecting these data to statistical analysis. According to Smith, 2003, neutral, scientific language, p. 9, must be used in quantitative research in pursuing exact facts. This means that the research itself must be expressed by universally acceptable digits. In this approach, in order to make generalizability, objectivity of the research is emphasized by using neutral scientific language. On the other hand, the qualitative approach aims to discover meanings and interpretations by studying cases intensively in natural settings and by subjecting the resulting data to analytic induction. Gall and Borg, 2003. It shows that because of the development of technology, change will continue to accelerate. McCollum and Patton, 2000. Williams, 2000, stresses the paradox that to achieve continuity we have to be willing to change. All organizations deal with change and resistance to change to various degrees. Year 2002. There is an expectation that information and communication technology, ICT, applications will be commonly used in the future to facilitate the increasing needs of support and care among older people. On the other hand, it is also a fact that the introduction of ICT is resisted by many professional carers. Ministry of Health and Social Welfare 2002. Organizational change requires the creation of a new system and the implantation of it, and has to reconsider the basic values, beliefs and attitudes of the people involved. Eisenbach et al. 2005. Various information and communication technology applications have successfully been developed to help solve a variety of problems in elder care. Beside different technical barriers and the assumed negative attitudes among older people, staff values and attitudes have been found to be an important cause of resistance to change and slowness in introduction of information and communication technology in healthcare of older people. An introduction of ICT in elder care is anticipated to require an organizational change. We found it important to explore carers' values and perceptions as potential participants in organizational change due to an introduction of ICT application in the context of elder care. As in this study, we want to know about to identify and address the fences that prevent federal, state, and city law enforcement employees in the America from obtaining accurate and immediate information on criminal sect. So it seems that the structured interview method is more appropriate for this study as compared to other methods. Qualitative studies use constructivist perspectives or advocacy participatory perspectives, or both, and use narratives, phenomenologies, grounded theory studies, or case studies as strategies of inquiry. In this approach, research facts and researchers' value judgments or interpretations are inseparable. Thus the researcher becomes an insider to the research. Carr and Chemis, 2006. Instrument survey research is the method of gathering data from respondents thought to be representative of some population, using an instrument composed of closed structure or open-ended items, questions. It is one of the most dominant forms of data collection in the social sciences, providing for efficient collection of data over broad populations, amenable to self-administration, administration in person, by telephone, via mail and over the Internet. There are many advantages that have been identified in the use of the survey method. According to Babi, 2001, these advantages include: 1 can collect a large amount of data in a fairly short time. Surveys are easier and less expensive than other forms of data collection. Questionnaires can be used to research almost any aspect of human perceptions regarding the variables under study. They can be easily used in field settings. The sampling method that has been used was a mix of purposive and snowball sampling. Purposive sampling targets a particular group of people. When the desired population for the study is rare or very difficult to locate and recruit for a study, purposive sampling may be the only option. Snowball sampling is a special non-probability method used when the desired sample characteristic is rare. It may be extremely difficult or cost-prohibitive to locate respondents in these situations. Snowball sampling relies on referrals from initial subjects to generate additional subjects. While this technique can dramatically lower search costs, it comes at the expense of introducing bias because the technique itself reduces the likelihood that the sample will represent a good cross-section from the population. Participants: 10 carers, working either in nursing homes or in home care in Northern Ireland participated in the study, 2 registered nurses, 3 managers of nursing homes and home care, and 5 enrolled nurses. There were 2 men and 8 women, ranging from 27 to 62 years of age. Their work experience with elder care varied between 3 and 26 years. The sampling strategy involved a mix of purposive sampling to obtain information-rich cases, with a variation of experiences and length in areas of care of older people, and snowball sampling, patent 2002, among leaders in care of older people institutions, that is asking one person to nominate another, who in turn nominates another. This process was continued until 10 participants were identified. All had a general experience of using ICT, but none had used specifically designed ICT applications for the care of older people. They had all heard of, and in some cases seen, such ICT applications in use. Data collection: the interviews, conducted in Swedish during the year 2004, were preceded by the showing of a film vignette presenting the most common current applications of ICT for older people. The vignette was used to illustrate possible scenarios and consequences of the use of ICT, Drew 2003. It was about 5 minutes long and took the form of a computer presentation with still pictures and commentary. The presentation contained demonstrations of smart house applications, that is intelligent electronic devices in the home that can prevent accidents, different sensors for monitoring the movement of older people and applications of communication through video conferencing. After presentation of the vignette, interviewees were asked to reflect on the use of ICT applications in their own work situation. The first interview question was, when you consider the vignette, please tell me what your feelings and thoughts are about the different applications. This question was followed by questions such as, what are your thoughts when you consider this specific ICT application in your own work environment? The interviews were tape-recorded and lasted between 45 and 60 minutes. Data analysis of the transcribed interviews was conducted in a stepwise manner using qualitative content analysis, Coffey and Atkinson 2006. The data were first read through in order to get an overall understanding of the content. Meaning units, part of a sentence, or sentences, about the use of ICT were then identified. The meaning units were subsequently condensed, abstracted, compared and sorted into subcategories and categories. The underlying meaning of the content of the subcategories and categories was finally interpreted and formulated into a theme, Down-Womble 2002, Greenham and Lundman 2004. In order to achieve trustworthiness of the analysis, two of them were compared and discussed each step in the process, and the final results were translated into English, reflected on and compared with the original interviews. Results. An overall theme of ICT as promoter of both humane and inhumane care was identified, and this was made up of 2 categories and 5 subcategories. These are summarized in Table 1 and presented below. Consequences from a caring perspective. This category relates to healthcare personnel's reasoning about consequences of the use of ICT applications from a caring perspective. The category entails the subcategories of superficiality and genuineness, captivity and freedom, and unworthiness and dignity. The subcategories deal with ICT in relation to values of good and bad care, and with risks and possibilities with ICT for older people. Superficiality and genuineness. Carers raise the issue of superficial and genuine care in the use of ICT. Superficial care was described as being linked to superficial relationships. Carers expressed a general fear that the use of ICT applications would contribute to a caring situation for older people where the closeness and intimacy of face-to-face communication were reduced and replaced by a remote form of communication characterized by superficiality in the personal relationship. The interviewees who had worked in home care had experienced the appreciation of the social interaction that carers could provide on home visits. One of the interviewees said, I had several older people that I visited whom I could talk to while preparing their lunch and then sit down and have a cup of coffee while they were eating. This didn't take too much time but was an important occasion for the older person. They could talk and they had somebody to share their meal with. Good care for older people was described as being linked to genuine relationships and social interaction. Physical closeness was considered important for interaction with many older people, especially those who had communication problems. For example, older people with dementia need to have staff members around them in order to prevent chaos and to be able to calm down the situation when they are anxious and restless. Even though genuine care was related to physical presence and face-to-face communication, carers also described situations where the use of ICT applications could contribute to a genuinely caring relationship with older people living isolated in their homes through the possibility of maintaining a remote dialogue. For example, isolation and loneliness among older people are the biggest problems we face in our work. It is possible that it could mean a lot for older people to be able to communicate through video phones with somebody that understands their situation and that they otherwise could not talk to. Captivity and freedom. This subcategory describes the duality of captivity and freedom about the use of ICT. There was a fear that the use of ICT could contribute to increased loneliness and to older people being made captive in their own homes. This fear is illustrated by the quote, "Human beings are not created to live alone, and loneliness is one of the biggest problems for many older people. For some of them, the walls of their homes become a prison." Interviewees sensed that ICT could become a problem if it was used in such a way that it delayed placement in nursing homes for those older people with a poor sense of personal security. The choice of moving to a nursing home must always be there for those older people who do not have a basic sense of security and are in need of the sense of community that nursing homes can offer. Freedom for older people was connected to the possibility of being able to choose independent living in their private homes. Interviewees thought that an increased use of ICT applications would propel development towards more home-based care. Some were convinced that being cared for at home was the best thing for older people and, if ICT could facilitate this, it would mean increased freedom for them. This conviction was expressed by one of the interviewees as, "I am convinced that staying at home is always the best thing for an older person. It is very difficult for them to adjust to new situations and new people and that will always confuse them." Unworthiness and dignity. This subcategory describes the duality of unworthiness and dignity about the use of ICT. The perception of unworthiness was that there was a thin line between remote control and remote surveillance when assisting older people according to their needs. One aspect that could change the situation was the person who controlled the older person's movements. It is very important that the person who controls the older person via the electronic device has some kind of connection with them and understands their problems. It cannot be just anybody because then it changes from supportive older people to surveillance. Another aspect that altered the situation was the older person's level of dementia. Electronic tagging could mean great freedom and security for older people who most of the time could manage on their own but sometimes became confused and lost direction. An older person with severe dementia who could not understand the function of the electronic device and had no sense of direction would still be confused and have nowhere to turn. One of the interviewees said, "We have to think through the use of these electronic devices so that we only use them when we believe that it will benefit older people. If you have severe dementia, you don't need an electronic tag, you need a staff member to show you the way." One fear about lack of dignity was connected with intrusion into an older person's private sphere. It was expressed by one of the interviewees as, "Even if we could prevent many fall accidents by close monitoring of the older people, we must accept that we should not have full control of their private spheres." There were also concerns about carers' attitudes towards older people as people worth talking to, and making them feel confirmed as human beings in their social interaction with others. One of the interviewees said, "We cannot create systems that treat older people like parcels. They have to feel that they have a value as a person and that their value can be confirmed in their social interaction with others." Dignity was associated with the understanding of the use of ICT applications that could facilitate assistance according to older people's individual needs. There was a duality in interviewees' attitudes towards the possibility of using intelligent ICT systems that utilize sensor technology to monitor an older person with dementia when wandering either in the home surroundings or in the environment of a nursing home. All the interviewees realized and acknowledged that control was already widely used and accepted in the care of older people with dementia. However, the use of sophisticated ICT applications could mean an increased level of independency for many older people in comparison with less sophisticated devices for confinement, such as complicated door locks and door alarms. It was realized that the existing devices to some extent interfered with older people's integrity but also gave them security and saved them from going outdoors and freezing to death in the cold winters of Northern Ireland. The potential of the increased level of independency and reduction in confinement that intelligent sensor technology could bring about was seen as advantageous for older people with dementia. Consequences from the perspective of being a carer. This category relates to healthcare personnel's reasoning about the consequences of use of ICT applications from the perspective of a carer. The category entails the subcategories dissociation and involvement and threat and aids. The subcategories relate to good and bad consequences from carers' perspectives. Dissociation and involvement. This subcategory deals with the duality of being dissociated and involved as a carer. The risks of becoming dissociated when using ICT applications were connected to the risk of carers choosing the easiest solution and choosing remote communication or remote monitoring instead of physically was being with the older people. It was realized that to be close and affectionate with an older person whose needs were not always easy to interpret demanded a highly motivated staff member, and less motivated staff could easily choose remote monitoring instead of personal contact. There is a risk that staff members for their own convenience would put an electric tag on older people with dementia and send them outdoors instead of accompanying them, which would have been the best solution. There are always staff members who hide behind practical duties instead of being with the older people. The possibility of a carer being involved in the life of an individual older person with the assistance of ICT applications was anticipated in situations where communication otherwise was difficult to maintain. One example was the possibility of remote monitoring of confused and restless older people in order to provide a level of safety and security for both them and healthcare personnel. This aspect was especially important for those working in small teams responsible for many older people, for instance, during night shifts. It was also felt that monitoring was important for many concerned relatives. One of the interviewees said, "The simple monitoring devices we already use during nights are very important for me in order to cope with my own anxiety that something might happen to an older person who is restless for some reason." Threats and aids. This subcategory deals with the duality of conceiving ICT applications as a threat and an aid. Even if the interviewees could sense that ICT applications could be beneficial and an aid for them in different ways, many of them also felt that it was possible that an introduction of ICT applications might not be in the best interests of professional carers. Some of the interviewees associated the introduction of ICT in elder care with a built-in wish of the care providing system to cut costs and reduce the number of staff. All of them had trouble in accepting that advanced ICT applications should be used to cut down on staff, although they anticipated that it would happen if it was possible. One of the interviewees said, "We are already too few staff to provide high-quality care for the older people, and this is not the right area to use this technology on. You can't replace a staff member with an electronic machine." The experience was that most carers of older people had little interest in ICT technology and little interest in taking part in developing methods for using ICT in their work setting. This resistance was perceived as being connected with lack of exposure to technology and a fear of not being able to handle the technical devices. One of the interviewees said, "You can see a clear tendency that staff members below 35 years of age have no problems in accepting computers and they are optimistic about the benefits of using them. For those who are older, the simple procedures for logging onto the computers are a major obstacle." There was an experience among the interviewees that whether something as new as ICT applications should be conceived as a threat or an aid was often a collective decision made by the group of all those concerned. The security of being in the group could counterbalance the insecure feeling of standing alone and defending the introduction of new ICT applications. By some of the interviewees, the group was considered to be generally restrictive and to prioritize security in making decisions. This general attitude was counter to the ideas of staff members who were willing to try new things and make use of a new ICT device that could be beneficial as an aid. One of the interviewees said, "There are usually protests among the staff when new things are introduced. We cannot entirely base our decisions on that, and I have to consider what seems to be the best thing for the older people. The problem is always to interpret what that is." ICT is promoter of both humane and inhumane care. The underlying meaning of the content of the findings was interpreted as a theme. ICT is a promoter of both humane and inhumane care. On the one hand, participants feared that the use of ICT would propel development towards a dehumanized care of older people where the focus was on efficiency and remote control. On the other hand, they deemed ICT applications to have the potential to promote well-being and to assist an individual older person with some of their needs, for example increased freedom, less dependency and increased security. There was a paradox in the participants' reasoning since the same attributes of ICT that could promote humane care also were seen as a risk and induced a general fear of dehumanized care. The risk of ICT becoming a promoter for a more inhumane care seemed to make the carers defensive. Chapter 4, Analysis and Discussion. This study shows that the interpretation of values and perceptions among carers revealed a duality where they perceived ICT as a promoter of both humane and inhumane care, a duality that seemed to make the carers defensive and resistant to change. From change management theory, it is well known that people resist organizational changes, for example Tier 2002. In the 2000s, Rogers, 1962, concluded in his studies of the mechanism of diffusion of innovations that many technologists thought that the obvious benefits of new ideas would be widely realized by potential adopters. Unfortunately, This was seldom the case. The resistance to using ICT applications in elder care was in this study found to be primarily of an ethical nature. Possibilities and risks with technology. The healthcare system continuously deals with change processes related to technology. The mastery of technology can produce health and life and lead to mastery of disease, illness and death. Lindahl 2005. The advances in technology in our society could be seen as part of our willingness to master and take power over the world. Grange 2005. According to Marcel, 2005, the influence of technology involves transformation of values, and poses risks for losing one's capacity to reflect. Referring to Heidegger, Grange, 2005, contends that technology is both a form of human consciousness and a metaphysics in which human beings can be reduced to the status of objects to use. Our study showed that carers considered the same ICT applications as having potential to promote both a more humane and a more inhumane elder care. In other words, they pointed to the paradox that ICT applications could be used for doing good or bad. The vision of the good life is the foundation of ethics, Research 2002, and caring is based on the foundation of doing good, for example Sorley 2001. The risks and possibilities in using ICT applications in elder care that were disclosed in our study were fundamentally of an ethical nature. The dualities found in the study of superficiality and genuineness, of captivity and freedom, and of unworthiness and dignity, are here further discussed. The duality in using ICT. The carers expressed a fear that genuine relationships in physical presence in personal relationships would be replaced by a communication characterized by superficiality. They were also of the opinion that ICT applications could contribute to a genuinely caring relationship and counteract loneliness, if used in a proper way. Arnolder and Boggs, 2005, claim that healthcare personnel take the primary responsibility for maintaining the boundaries and guiding the caring relationship. The quality of the caring relationship is directly linked to the quality of the communication process. Presence in the interaction with older people is characterized as high in intersubjectivity and as being with them, in contrast to a situation with low intersubjectivity and only being there. Gilch 2002. If presence is established, there is a possibility of establishing trust that supports genuine communication. When there is genuine communication in a caring relationship, there is an ethical demand to respond to the other's needs. Low GSTRUP 2001. A caring relationship maintained via remote communication facilitated by ICT applications should be able to fulfill the same ethical demands as face-to-face communication, that is the demands of having genuine communication and response to the needs of older people. The duality of captivity and freedom about the use of ICT in elder care is, among other things, connected to values about autonomy and integrity. Older people in need of care in their homes could, in the perceptions of the interviewees, be made captive by ICT equipment, or by the lack of them. Their freedom, autonomy and integrity could be enhanced or undermined. Autonomy means freedom of self-determination and freedom from unnecessary constraints and interference. Bjornia by et al. 2004. Scheel, 2006, argues, based on philosophers such as Taylor and Merleau-Ponty, that the concept of freedom in caring is a situated freedom since carers often have to choose on behalf of the person cared for. Anderson, 2004, describes integrity in caring contexts as respect for the people cared for, and as sensitivity to their dissimilarities and vulnerability. The carers in this study considered that the use of ICT could promote care receivers' possibilities to remain at home, and thereby increase their integrity, autonomy and freedom. They also presented the view that vulnerable older people in need of care could be trapped at home by the use of ICT, with decreased integrity, autonomy and freedom. The duality of unworthiness and dignity relates to whether the use of ICT applications contributes to a care where the intrinsic value of each frail elder is responded to. There was a fear of possible intrusion into the private sphere of the frail elder through remote monitoring and also of a distancing from the elder leading to not viewing them as a person with whom you have a personal relationship and responsibility to. This relates to the findings of Soderberg et al. 2003, where nurses view dignity, among other things, as situations where they had a personal responsibility towards the patient as a human being. Care without dignity was viewed as situations where they were performing caring actions without reflecting and taking for granted that good would prevail. Care with the assistance of ICT should therefore promote a personal responsibility towards frail elders. The fundamental values of caring in relation to the use of technology were discussed by Schoenhofer, 2001. She claimed that humane care is where the intrinsic value of each person is responded to and inhumane care is where recognition of the intrinsic values of a person is not conveyed. The balance between humane and inhumane care has to do with the principles of intentionality in the use of technology and a knowledge, in a broad sense, of what is the well-being of the older person. Schoenhofer 2001, pages 4-6. Kolst, 2003, developed a theoretical model for evaluating ICT technology in healthcare that can be used to handle the dilemma of duality in values. He argued that an analysis of the consequences of a new technology has to be based on a philosophical standpoint, that an introduction of a new technical application is right if, compared with the alternatives, it provides the overall best solution for those concerned. Criteria for what is a good solution should be based on satisfaction of the well-being of the individual. Well-being should be interpreted as satisfaction of human needs and satisfaction of an individual's rights, such as the right to integrity, and the right to be treated according to the principle of equality. Translating this theoretical model into the context of this study means that both the well-being of older people and healthcare personnel should be considered when introducing ICT applications in elder care. Wernes, 2005, supports this view when she claims that it is not possible to organize care for older people based on humanistic values without considering the conditions of both the older people and their healthcare personnel. According to Levinas, 2002, responsibility is the starting point for our identity as humans. The carers in this study saw it was their obligation to protect the freedom, genuineness and dignity of the vulnerable people cared for. It is of utmost importance to consider that ethical responsibility can be part of the resistance to use ICT applications in elder care. Study limitations. This was a qualitative study to illuminate the values and perceptions among a selected group of professional carers with working experience in the specific context of elder care in Northern Ireland. It is possible that similar studies in other contexts may arrive at different results. The transferability of the findings to other contexts must be judged by the experience of the reader and through further research. Greenham and Lundman 2004. Interviews were conducted with the assistance of a film vignette that may have excluded some important aspects of using ICT in elder care and overemphasized others. However, the use of the vignette has contributed to increasing the interviewee's possibility to enact the use of ICT applications in elder care and, subsequently, the trustworthiness of the study. Drew 2003. Findings suggest that the identified duality should be taken into account in several ways. Fears of inhumane care among carers must be recognized and discussed. The potential of ICT applications of improving elder care is equally important to discuss and balanced against existing fears. There should be an ethical discussion where the introduction of ICT applications are judged on whether they are part of a caring alternative that provides the best alternative for all concerned individuals. The best alternative must promote aspects of well-being and dignity for the frail elder. It should also consider the human needs of concerned carers. There should be an ethical discussion when introducing information and communication technology applications in elder care. The best caring alternative for all those concerned should be considered. It should promote aspects of well-being and dignity for frail older people, and fears of inhumane care among carers must be recognized and discussed. Further research is needed to illuminate the many ethical aspects of introducing ICT applications in order to make the best use of it in elder care in the future. Chapter 5, Conclusion. In conclusion, we can say that in the past, Ireland has occupied a structurally dependent, peripheral, position within both the old international division of labor between industrialized and primary producing economies, and the new international division of labor which emerged in the 1960s and 2000s, whereby routine, low-skill manufacturing activities were diffused to selected peripheral regions. More recently, Ireland has been one of the few peripheral regions which, through concerted investment in ICT infrastructure and associated education and training, has managed to adhere itself to the fast component of the emerging global informational economy of the late 20th century. This has facilitated the attraction of considerable investment in ICT manufacturing and ICT using services, which has allowed Ireland, and particularly Dublin, where the bulk of this recent investment has been concentrated, to move towards the living standards of the world's core economies. Nevertheless, due to its ongoing economic reliance on inward investment whose continuance is externally determined, Ireland remains a dependent economy, albeit located in what Todd, 2005, has termed the rich periphery of the fast world, rather than the poor periphery of the slow world. In successfully targeting selected ICT-intensive investment in selected sectors, Dublin has managed to carve out a niche for itself as a transnational city. However, our examination of one of these sectors, call centers, has raised questions about the sustainability of this position, contingent as it is on exogenous economic, technological and political developments. Friedman, 2005, has pointed to the dynamism and volatility of the global urban system, with the relative positions of different cities waxing and waning over time. In this context, whether Dublin can maintain or even develop its role as a transnational city will depend on its adaptability to changing circumstances and, in particular, its ability to attract economic functions which are more central to the operations of the transnational firms which have become crucial to Ireland's continued economic well-being. Healthcare organizations and processes are constituted out of an integration of the activities of clinicians and managers, with information systems applications and other technologies. In supporting the decision-making that takes place when addressing problems within the delivery of care, its management and any associated information systems development, it is necessary to accommodate multiple stakeholders in any approach or methodology. Multiple stakeholders and their differing and changing interests need to be accommodated descriptively within explorations of the problem situation, in any modeling that takes place and solutions arrived at. Stakeholders must be instrumentally taken into account when any solution is decided upon and in resulting designs and interventions. Most importantly, stakeholders, with their variegate needs, powers and political agendas must be normatively involved within the problem-solving process itself, including the modeling. There has to be robust accommodations between stakeholders in healthcare on which to normatively base decisions surrounding information systems and organizational integrated development. Their ownership of the realization of any ICT solution is necessary to problems in clinical and managerial practices within healthcare. Any problem situation analysis, decision-making, solution and its realization has therefore to encompass the integration of networks of clinical and/or managerial practices with the functioning of ICT applications. From practice, the decision-making criteria within healthcare and other arenas have been identified as systematic desirability, cultural feasibility, values-adding, technical feasibility and ethical defensibility. There are methodology, tools and techniques capable of accommodating decision-making in the realization of integrated solutions in healthcare networks. Typical of these are ICT system stakeholder analysis and participative simulation modeling and their synergies. To address the complex problem healthcare situations, it will be necessary to incorporate other IS, IT and organizational development disciplines within the decisions made and solutions arrived at. Problem-solving within health informatics is potentially a never-ending process in which one solution, in tandem with emergent contingencies, leads to new problem situations that in turn are amenable to integrated approaches and solutions. These principles, drawn from practice, are not only capable of underpinning actual instances of integrated decision-making within healthcare but also form a framework for continuing research and development. Such an agenda would focus on what initiates problem situations in healthcare that precipitates multi-actor decision-making, the appropriateness and impact of resulting solutions, the efficacy of the methodologies, tools and techniques employed and the potency of the philosophies upon which they are based. Experience has shown that future directions in decision-making about healthcare information systems and their management can never be achieved in isolation. It is always necessary to effect change in associated clinical and managerial practices as well, and that means engaging with multiple stakeholders drawing on integrated approaches to health informatics research and development. From an examination of the above explorations of the various approaches in action and their potential synergies, the following principles for decision-making in integrated IS and healthcare development may be discerned that will inform future research and practice in health informatics. Healthcare organizations and processes are constituted out of an integration of the activities of clinicians and managers with information systems, applications, and other technologies. In supporting the decision-making that takes place when addressing problems within the delivery of care, its management and any associated information systems development, it is necessary to accommodate multiple stakeholders in any approach or methodology. Multiple stakeholders and their differing and changing interests need to be accommodated descriptively within explorations of the problem situation, in any modeling that takes place and solutions arrived at. Stakeholders must be instrumentally taken into account when any solution is decided upon and in resulting designs and interventions. Most importantly, stakeholders, with their varied needs, powers and political agendas, must be normatively involved within the problem-solving process itself, including the modeling. There has to be robust accommodations between stakeholders in healthcare on which to normatively base decisions surrounding information systems and organizational integrated development. Their ownership of the realization of any IS&T solution is necessary to problems in clinical and managerial practices within healthcare. Any problem situation analysis, decision-making, solution and its realization has therefore to encompass the integration of networks of clinical and/or managerial practices with the functioning of IS&T applications. From practice, the decision-making criteria within healthcare and other arenas have been identified as systematic desirability, cultural feasibility, values-adding, technical feasibility, and ethical defensibility. There are methodology, tools and techniques capable of accommodating decision-making in the realization of integrated solutions in healthcare networks. Typical of these are system, stakeholder analysis and participative simulation modeling and their synergies. To address the complex problem healthcare situations, it will be necessary to incorporate other IS, IT and organizational development disciplines within the decisions made and solutions arrived at. Problem solving within health informatics is potentially a never-ending process in which one solution, in tandem with emergent contingencies, leads to new problem situations that in turn are amenable to integrated approaches and solutions. These principles, drawn from practice, are not only capable of underpinning actual instances of integrated decision-making within healthcare but also form a framework for continuing research and development. Such an agenda would focus on what initiates problem situations in healthcare that precipitates multi-actor decision-making, the appropriateness and impact of resulting solutions, the efficacy of the methodologies, tools and techniques employed, and the potency of the philosophies upon which they are based. Experience has shown that future directions in decision-making about healthcare information systems and their management can never be achieved in isolation. It is always necessary to effect change in associated clinical and managerial practices as well, and that means engaging with multiple stakeholders, drawing on integrated approaches to health informatics research and development. References: Allen, S. 2005. Call Center Location, History versus Mobility. Customer Contact Solutions 1, pages 24 to 25. Amin, A. and Grimm, S. 2003. The Ordinary City. Transactions, Institute of British Geographers 22, pages 411 to 429. Anderson, R. 2005, NHS-wide Networking and Patient Confidentiality, Britain Seems Headed for a Poor Solution, British Medical Journal, Volume 311, pages 5 to 6. Anderson, M. 2004, Integrity as a Concept and as a Principle in Healthcare Ethics. Doctoral Thesis, A Degree Bow Academy, University Press, A Degree Bow, Finland. 8, Mason, R.O., 2005. Global Outsourcing of Information Processing Activities. In, Harker, P.T., ed. The Service Productivity and Quality Challenge. Kluwer Academic Publishers, Dordrecht, pages 169 to 202. Arcelé, A., Sanchez, E., Herndl, L., Inclin, G., Bosicaloop, M., Latona, J., Gonzalez, R.M., Martinez-Condor, A.E., 2005, Self-Assessment of all the health centers of a public health service through the European Model of Total Quality Management, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 12 No. 2. Arnett A. and Delacy L. 2001, Telenursing for the Elderly. The Case for Care via Video Telephony. Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare 7, 311-316. Arnold E. and Boggs K. 2005, Interpersonal Relationships, Professional Communication Skills for Nurses. W. B. Saunders Company, Philadelphia, USA, pages 21-30. Atkinson, C.J., 2000, The Soft Information Systems and Technologies Methodology, an Act-to-Network Contingency Approach to Integrated Development, European Journal of Information Systems, Volume 9 pages 104-23. Atkinson, C.J., 2004, An Appraisal of the Programme Board's Appreciation of the Electronic Patient Record, London, a report to the NHS Executive. Atkinson, C.J., 2005, A Scoping Study of the Scenarios for the Acute Sector Information Strategy, in Scenarios for Growing Not Building the Systems of the Future, Strategic Framework for Information Services in the HPSS Acute Sector 2003-2002, ends. Atkinson, C.J., 2003, Soft Information Systems and Technologies Methodology, System, A Case Study of the Electronic Patient Record, Requirements Eng, Volume 2 pages 1-22. Atkinson, C.J., Dunlop, E. 2005, A Scoping Study of the Maturation Pathway for the Community Clinical Support Information System, for West Berkshire Priority Care Services 2005, Commission Project Report for the Trust Chief Executive. Atkinson, C.J., Peel, V. 2005, Transforming a Hospital by Babby, E. 2001. The Practice of Social Research, 8th ed. C.A., Wadsworth Baldwin, L.P., L. Dobby, T. Paul, R.J., 2005, Simulation Modeling as an Aid to Decision-Making in Healthcare Management, The Adjuvant Breast Cancer, ABC, Tria, in Farrington, PA, Nemward, H.B., Sturrock, D.T., Evans, G.W., ends. Proceedings of the 2005 Winter Simulation Conference, Association of Computing Machinery, Phoenix, New York, pages 1523-31. Banerjee S., Steenkist F., Couturier P., Debray M. and Franco A. Berg, M. 2005, Patient Care Information Systems and Healthcare Work, A Socio-Technical Approach, International Journal of Medical Informatics, Volume 55 No. 2, pages 87-101. Berg, M. 2003, Rationalizing Medical Work, Decision Support Techniques in Medical Practices, MIT Press, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Bjornia Bias, Topo P., Cahill S., Begley E., Jones K., Hagen I., Machaljalski J. and Holt T. 2004, Ethical Considerations in the Enable Project. Dementia 3, 297-312. Bloomfield, B.P., Coombs, R., Cooper, D.J., Ray, D. 2002, Machines and Maneuvers, Responsibility Accounting and the Construction of Hospital Information Systems, Accounting, Management and Information Technologies, Volume 2 No. 4, pages 192-7. Burles, P.H., Skouros, N., Papakonstantinou, G., Tsanakas, P. 2006, Towards a Knowledge Acquisition and Management System for ECG Diagnosis, Proceedings of 13th International Congress Medical Informatics Europe MIE 96, Copenhagen. Bowers, F. 2001, Cure Need for Ailing Health Service, Sunday Independent. Brethmich, P. 2002. The Demise of Growth Centre Policy, The Case of the Republic of Ireland. In, Hudson, R. and Lewis, J., Editors, 2002. Regional Planning in Europe, Pion, London, pages 35-56. Brethmich, P. 2003. Women's Employment and Peripheralization, The Case of Ireland's Branch Plant Economy. Jofram 24, pages 19 to 29. Brethmich, P. 2005. Exploring the Celtic Tiger Phenomenon, Causes and Consequences of Ireland's Economic Miracle. European Urban and Regional Studies 5, pages 305 to 316. Brethmich, P. 2005. Uneven Development and Capitalist Peripheralization, The Case of Ireland. Antipode 20, pages 122 to 141. Callan, M. 2001, Techno-Economic Networks and Irreversibility, in Law, J. Ends, A Sociology of Monsters, Essays on Power, Technology and Domination, Routledge, London, Caring Conversation, A Research Synthesis on Presence, Touch and Car, W. and Chemis, S. 2006. Becoming Critical, Education, Knowledge, and Action Research. Philadelphia, The Farmer Press. Castles, M. 2003. The Informational Economy and the New International Division of Labor. In, Carnoy, M. Castles, M. Cohen, S.S., Cardoso, F.H., eds. The New Global Economy and the Information Age. The Pennsylvania State University Press, University Park, Pennsylvania, pages 15 to 43. Castles, M. 2005. The Informational City, Basil Blackwell, Oxford. Castles, M. 2006. The Rise of the Network Society, Blackwell, Oxford. Chickland, P. Scholes, J. 2000, Soft Systems Methodology in Action, Wiley, Chichester. Christopherson, S. 2005. Changing Women's Status in a Global Economy. In, Johnston, R.J., Taylor, P.J. and Watts, M.J., editors, 2005 Geographies of Global Change, Blackwell, Oxford, pages 191 to 205. Clark, Ian Lund, A. 2000. Globalization of a Commercial Property Market, The Case of Copenhagen. Gigaram 31, pages 467 to 475. Clark, M. Jones, R.W., 2001, What Route to Viability for Telemedicine in the UK. Proceedings of the Healthcare 2001 Conference, Harrogate, pages 190 to 5. Clark, M. Jones, R.W., George, S. Cairns, D. 2005a, Teledermatology, the UK Experience of Setting Up an Integrated Teledermatology Service, Proceedings of the Medical Information and Education 2005 Conference, Ljubljana, pages 274 to 7. Clark, M. Jones, R.W., Komnelopolis, N. Lipis, D. Nasipolis, A. 2005b, Aidman, Advanced Informatics Distributed Medical Access Network, Proceedings of the Medical Information and Education 2005 Conference, Ljubljana, pages 625 to 30. Clark, M. Jones, R.W., Lipis, D. 2000a, The Aidman Project, A Practical Investigation of Some of the Challenges in Telemedicine, British Journal of Healthcare and Information Management, Volume 17 No. 5, pages 24 to 6. Clark, M. Lipis, D. Komnelopolis, N. Jones, R.W., Nasipolis, A. 2000b, Aidman, Advanced Informatics Distributed Medical Access Network, Proceedings of the GMART 2000 Conference, Paris, pages 203 to 6. Co. N. 2003. U.S. Transnationals and the Irish Software Industry. European Urban and Regional Studies 4, pages 211 to 230. Coffey A. and Atkinson P. 2006, Making Sense of Qualitative Data. Cohen, R.B., 2001. The New International Division of Labor, Multinational Corporations and Urban Hierarchy. In, Deere, M. N. Scott, A.J., editors, 2001. Urbanization and Urban Planning in Capitalist Society, Matin, New York, pages 287 to 315. Colts G. 2003, Ethics in the Computerized Society Commission of the European Communities, 2005. Traveling in Europe. Brussels Commission on Health Funding, 2005, Report, Stationery Office, Dublin. Complementary Research Strategies. Sage Publications, Thousand Oaks, California. Curry, R.G. Norris, A.C., Parroy, S., Milhuish, P.J., 2003, The Strategic Development and Application of Telemedicine, Proceedings of the Second APAMI 5th HIC 97 Conference on Health and Medical Informatics, Sydney, No Study 57, pages 1-9 Davies, R., Flowers, J. 2005, The Growing Need for Renal Service, OR Insight, Volume 8 No. 2, pages 6-11 Davies, R., Roderick, P. 2005, Planning Resources for Renal Services Throughout UK Using Simulation, European Journal of Operational Research, Volume 105 No. 2, pages 285-95. Delaney, P.M., Papworth, G.D., King, R.G., 2005, Fiber Optic Confocal Imaging, FOCI, for in vivo subsurface microscopy of the colon, in Pretty, V.R., Watson, R.R., ENDS, Methods in Disease, Investigating the Gastrointestinal Tract, Greenwich Medical Media, London. Dallasy, L. 2005, Bridging the Gap Between Clinicians and Health Managers, European Journal of Operational Research, Volume 105 No. 2, pages 248-56. Deloitte and Touche, 2001, Audit in the Irish Health System for Value for Money, Department of Health and Children, Dublin. Demaris G., Speedy S., Finkelstein S. and Harris I. 2003, Communication Patterns and Technical Quality of Virtual Visits in Home Care. Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare 9, 210-215. Department of Health, 2003, The New NHS, Modern Dependable, HMSO, London, White Study. Department of Health and Children, DOHC, 2001, Quality and Fairness, A Health System for You, Health Strategy, Government Publications, Dublin. Department of Taoiseach, 2004, Strategic Management Initiative, Department of the Taoiseach, Government Buildings, Dublin. Dickon, P. and Kirkpatrick, C., 2001. Services-Led Development in ASEAN, Transnational Regional Headquarters in Singapore. The Pacific Review 4, pages 174-184. Donabedian, A. 2000, The Definition of Quality and Approaches to Its Assessment, Health Administration Press, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Donaldson, T., Preston, L.E., 2005, The Stakeholder Theory of the Corporation, Concepts, Evidence, and Implications, Academy of Management Review, Volume 20 No. 1, pages 65-91. Down-Wombold B. 2002, Content Analysis, Method, Applications and Issues. Healthcare for Women International 1, 313-321. Drew N. 2003, Reenactment Interviewing, A Methodology for Phenomenological Research. Journal of Nursing Scholarship 25, 4, 345-350. Eisenbach R., Watson K. and Pillai R. 2005, Transformational Leadership in the Context of Organizational Change. Journal of Organizational Change Management 12, 80-89. Al-Dabi, T., Paul, R.J., 2005, Simulating Healthcare Systems for Problem Understanding, the ABC Trial Example, in Aldabas, D., Cheng, R. ENDS, Proceedings of the 4th UK Simulation Society Conference, United Kingdom Simulation Society, Cambridge, pages 81-7. Al-Dabi, T., Paul, R.J., Taylor, S.J., 2000, Simulating Economic Factors in Adjuvant Breast Cancer Treatment, Journal of the Operational Research Society, Volume 51 No. 4, pages 465-75. Al-Dabi, T., Paul, R.J., Taylor, S.J., 2005, Computer Simulation in Healthcare Decision Making, Indesuki, M.I., Hindi, K.S., Sadikite, M. ENDS, Computers and Industrial Engineering, Elsevier Science, London and Oxford, pages 235-8. Ennis, K. Harrington, D. 2001, Quality Management in Irish Healthcare, The Service Industries Journal, Volume 21 No. 1. Izumi H., Aki In, Oda M., Sato S., Ego M., Fukuma N. and Takanami S. 2003, Peer Support via Video Telephony among Frail Older People Living at Home. Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare 9, 30-34. Fitch C.J., 2005, Telemedicine to Support the Elderly Forte, p. 2004, Data Rich, Information Poor, Data, Information and Decision Support in the NHS, European Journal of Information Systems, Volume 3 No. 2, pages 148-54. Freeman, C., 2004. The Diffusion of Information and Communication Technology in the World Economy in the 2000s. In, Mansell, R., Editor, 2004. The Management of Information and Communication Technologies, ASLIB, London, pages 8-41. Freeman, R.E. Strategic Management, A Stakeholder Approach, Bollinger Publishing, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Friedman, J., 2005. Where We Stand, A Decade of World City Research. In, Knox, P.L., Taylor, P.J., eds. World Cities in a World System. Cambridge University Press, Cambridge, pages 21-47. Friedman, J., 2006. The World City Hypothesis. Development and Change 17, pages 69-84. Gadd, G., 2005. Office Location Dynamics in Toronto, Suburbanization and Central District Specialization. Urban Geography 6, pages 331-351. Gall, M.D., Gall, J.P., and Borg, W.R. 2003. Educational Research, An Introduction, 7th ed. Boston, Allen and Bacon. Gosher, E.J., Coffey, R.J., 2000, Breakthrough Performance, Jossy Bass, San Francisco, California. Gosher, E.J., Coffey, R.J., 2000, Total Quality in Healthcare, Jossy Bass, San Francisco, California. Gill, Jeff. 2002, Being There, An Analysis of the Concept of Presence. In the Presence of Caring in Nursing, Gott D.A., ed. National League for Nursing, New York, USA, pages 1-13. Gilmer, D., 2002. Manufacturing Industry in the Republic of Ireland. Bank of Ireland, Dublin. Gilmore, E., Campbell, S.M., Lone, M.A., Esmail, A., Griffiths, C.E., Rowland, M.O., Perry, E.J., Corbett, R.O., Eadie, D., Gore, H.E., Matthews, C., Steele, K., Wooten, R., 2005, Comparison of Teleconsultations and Face-to-Face Consultations, Preliminary Results of a UK Multi-Centre Teledermatology Study, British Journal of Teledermatology, Volume 139 No. 1, pages 81-97. Goddard, J.B., 2005. Information and Communications Technologies, Corporate Hierarchies and Urban Hierarchies in the New Europe. In, Bracci, J., Batty, M., Blakely, E., Hall, P., Newton, P. eds. Cities in Competition. Longman, Melbourne, pages 125-138. Godin, P., Hubbs, R., Woods, B., Tsai, M., Nag, D., Rindfleisch, T., Dev, P., Melman, K. 2005, A New Instrument for Medical Decision Support and Education, the Stanford Health Information Network Education, Proceedings of the 32nd Hawaii International Conference on Systems Sciences, HIC 32, Maui, H.I. Golding, P., 2006. Worldwide Wedge, Division and Contradiction in the Global Information Infrastructure. Monthly Review 48, pages 70-85. Gottman, J., 2005. What are cities becoming the centers of? Sorting Out the Possibilities. In, Knight, R.V. and Capert, G., editors, 2005. Cities in a Global Society, Sage, London. Going, W. 2004, Operational Systems, in Keen, J. eds. Information Management and Health Services, Open University, Buckingham. Graham, S., Marvin, S., 2006. Telecommunications and the City, Electronic Spaces, Urban Places. Routledge, London Greenham UH and Lundman B. 2004, Qualitative Content Analysis in Nursing Research, Concepts, Procedures and Measures to Achieve Trustworthiness. Nurse Education Today 24, 105-112. Green J. 2005, As Technology Advances Language Decays. International Philosophical Quarterly 114, 163-173. Grimson, J., Grimson, W., Hasselbring, W., 2000, The IS Challenge in Healthcare, Communications of the ACM, Volume 43 No. 6, pages 49-55. Growing Not Building an Electronic Patient Record, Methods of Information in Medicine, Volume 37 pages 285-93. Guo, Z., Durand, L. G., Lee, H. C., Allard, L., Greenier, M. C., Stein, P. D., 2004, Artificial Neural Networks in Computer-Assisted Classification of Heart Sounds in Patients with Porcine Bioprosthetic Valves, Medical, Biological Engineering and Computing, Volume 32 pages 311-6. Hagney, R., Dillon, G., McBride, N., Kessler, S. 2005, Interpreting ISIT Decision Support in the UK Primary Healthcare System, Issues of Consumer Orientation and Structures, Proceedings of the 32nd Hawaii International Conference on Systems Sciences, Higgs 32, IEEE Computer, Maui, H.I. Halpern, M.T., Brown, R.E., Rivicki, D.A., Tagias, A.G., 2004, An Example of Using Computer Simulation to Predict Pharmaceutical Costs and Outcomes, in 2, J.S., Monivanan, S., Sadovsky, D.A., Sala, A.F., eds. Proceedings of the 2004 Winter Simulation Conference, Association of Computing Machinery, Orlando, Florida, pages 850-5. Hanka, R., Hart, T.P., Dixon, A.K., Lomas, D.J., Britton, P.D., 2006, Neural Networks in the Interpretation of Contrast-Enhanced Magnetic Resonance Images of the Breast, Proceedings of Healthcare Computing, Harrogate, pages 275-83. Hawks, N., 2001, Gates Unveils Vision for Online NHS of the Future, The Times, pages 10. Hoogveld, A., 2003. Globalization and the Post-Colonial World, Macmillan, London Holland, M., 2003. Technological Change in the Spatial Restructuring of Data Entry and Processing Services. Technological Forecasting and Social Change 43, pages 185-196. Huang, S., 2005. Office Suburbanization in Toronto, Fragmentation, Workforce Composition and Labour Shifts. Ph.D. Dissertation, University of Toronto UAE. And Wu J. 2002, Telehealth for Older Patients, The Hong Kong Experience. Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare Aid, 39-41. Huston, T.L., Huston, J.L., 2000, Is Telemedicine a Practical Reality? Communications of the ACM, Volume 43 No. 6, pages 91-5 in the UK. Health Informatics Journal 5, 128-135. Ingersoll, R., 2003. Computers Are Us. Design Book Review 27, pages 5. Interpretation of the narratives of ICU nurses and people using ventilators in their own homes. Medical Dissertation, Umeå Degree University, New Series No. 950, Sweden, pages 69. Introna, L., Pulati, A. 2005, Privacy in the Information Age, Stakeholders, Interests and Values, Journal of Business Ethics, Volume 22 No. 1, pages 27-38. Jackson, S. 2001, Using the EFQM Excellence Model within Healthcare, Kingsham Press, Chichester. Jackson, S. 2005, Achieving a Culture of Continuous Improvement by Adopting the Principles of Self-Assessment and Business Excellence, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 12 No. 2. Jackson, S. 2005, Excellence Model Right Tool for Management, British Journal of Healthcare Management, Volume 5 No. 12. Jackson, S. 2005, Organizational Effectiveness within National Health Service, NHS, Trusts, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 11 No. 7. Johnson, R.L., 2000, Trends in Healthcare and Healthcare Systems, 2000 HIMSS Proceedings, Volume 1 pages 231-5 Jones, D.H., Crichton, C., MacDonald, A., Potts, S., Syme, D., Toms, J., McKinley, J., 2006, Teledermatology in the Highlands of Scotland, Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare, Volume 2 No. 1, pages 7-9. Jones, R.W., Clark, M., Komnelopoulos, N., Lipis, D., Fowles, R., 2005, The Aidman Project, A Telemedicine Approach to Cardiology Investigation, Referral and Outpatient Care, Proceedings of the Teleem 2005 Conference, London, pages 32-4. Joss, R. 2004, What Makes for Successful TQM in the NHS. International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 7 No. 7. Joss. M. Kogan, M. 2005, Advancing Quality, Open University Press, Buckingham. Karkanis, S. Mikulas, G.D., Theophilus, N. 2000, Image Recognition and Neuronal Networks, Intelligent Systems for the Improvement of Imaging Information, Minimal Invasive Therapy and Allied Technologies, Volume 9 No. 3-4, pages 225-3. Karkanis, S.A., Mikulas, G.D., Grigoriadou, M., Scher, M. 2005, Detecting Abnormalities in Colonoscopic Images by Textual Description and Neural Networks, Proceedings of the Workshop Machine Learning in Medical Applications, Chania, Greece, pages 59-62. Carnan, J., Brown, J. 2005, Selecting a Decision Model for Economic Evaluation, A Case Study and Review, Healthcare Management Science, Volume 1 No. 2, pages 133-40. Klein, R.W., Dittus, R.S. Roberts, South Dakota, Wilson, J.R., 2003, Simulation Modeling and Healthcare Decision Making, Medical Decision Making, Volume 13 No. 4, pages 347-54. Knox, P.L., 2005. World Cities in a World System. In, Knox, P.L., Taylor, P.J., eds. World Cities in a World System. Cambridge University Press, Cambridge, pages 3-20. Lane, V.P., Lane, D., Littlejohns, P. 2006, Neural Networks for Decision-Making Related to Asthma Diagnosis and Other Respiratory Disorders, Proceedings of Healthcare Computing 2006, Harrogate, pages 85-93. Latour, B. 2003, Science in Action, Harvard. Lesher, J.L., Loretta, S., Davis, F.W., Gordon, D., Thompson, W.O., 2005, Telemedicine Evaluation of Cutaneous Diseases, A Blinded Comparative Study, Journal of the American Academy of Teledermatology, Volume 38 No. 1, pages 27-31. Levina Z. 2002, Ethics and Infinity. Duquesne University Press, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, pages 56-58. Lindahl B. 2005, The Meeting Between People and Technology, Listening. Journal of Advanced Nursing 30, 1167-1176. Low GSTRUPK. 2001, The Ethical Demand. Fortress Press, Philadelphia, USA. Lone, M.A., Corbett, R., Bloomer, S.E., Edie, D.J., Gore, H.E., Matthews, C., Steele, K., Wooten, R. 2005, Diagnostic Accuracy and Clinical Management by Real-Time Dermatology. Results from the Northern Ireland arms of the UK Multi-Centre Teledermatology Trial, Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare, Volume 4 No. 2, pages 95 to 100. Lowett, M.H., Kessler, I.I., Kaufman, C.L., Hooper, F.J., Siegel, E., Burnett, J.W., 2005, Teledermatology and In-Person Examinations, A Comparison of Patient and Physician Perceptions and Diagnostic Agreement, Archives of Dermatology, Volume 134 No. 4, pages 471 to 6. Mikulas, G.D., Prinsa, A. 2005, Machine Learning in Medical Applications, Chania, Greece, Workshop, http://www.brunel.ac.uk/ CSSTGDMACI99 Workshop PDF. Marcel G. 2005, The Mystery of Being, Faith and Reality. Volume 2, Original 2001. University Press of America, New York, pages 149. Mark, P.D., Hodges, J.A., 2001, Radio Aid to Ships at Sea, Medical Journal of Australia, Volume 55 pages 767 to 71. Methy M.J., Coster A.C.F., Level N.H., Seller B.G., Lord S.R. and Tiedemann A. 2004, A Pilot Study of Long-Term Monitoring of Human Movements in the Home Using Accelerometry. Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare 10, 144 to 151. McCollum J. and Patton R.A., 2000, Change Management, A Guide to Effective Implementation. Sage Publishing Limited, London, pages 2 to 69. Moeller, J. 2001, The EFQM Excellence Model. German Experiences with the EFQM Approach in Healthcare, International Journal for Quality in Healthcare, Volume 12 No. 1. Moeller, J. Breilinger O'Reilly, J. Elser, J. 2000, Quality Management in German Healthcare, The EFQM Excellence Model, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 13 No. 6. Nabitz, U., Wahlberg, J.A., 2000, Addicted to Quality, Winning the Dutch Quality Award based on the EFQM Model, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 13 No. 6. Nabitz, U.W., Klazinga, N.S., 2005, EFQM Approach and the Dutch Quality Award, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 12 No. 2. Naylor, G. 2005, Using the Business Excellence Model to Develop a Strategy for a Healthcare Organization, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 12 No. 2. Nelson, K. 2006. Labor Demand, Labor Supply and the Suburbanization of Low-Wage Office Work. In, Scott, A.J. and Storper, M., Editors, 2006. Production, Work, Territory, The Geographical Anatomy of Industrial Capitalism, Allen and Unwin, Winchester, Massachusetts, pages 149 to 171. NHS Executive, 2005, Information for Health, an Information Strategy for the Modern NHS 2005-2005, a National Strategy for Local Implementation, HMSO, London. O'Sullivan, K.E., 2005, How One British National Health Service Trust Follows the Path to Continuous Quality Improvement, Journal for Healthcare Quality, Volume 21 No. 1. Oakley, A.M., DeFil, M.B., Reeve, P. 2005, Practising Dermatology via Telemedicine, New Zealand Medical Journal, Volume 111 No. 1071, pages 296 to 90 OECD, 2003, Economic Survey, Overview of Irish Health Services, OECD, Brussels. Office of Health Management, OM, 2001, Response to the Health Strategy, OM, Dublin, Special Edition Newsletter. Of Redford, J. 2000, The Economics of Quality, A Practical Approach, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 13 No. 5. Patton M.Q., 2002, Qualitative Research and Evaluation Methods, 3rd ed. Sage Publications, Thousand Oaks, California, pages 242 to 248. Paul, R.J., 2005, Outpatient Clinic, The ClinSim Simulation Package, OR Insight, Volume 8 Number 2, pages 24 to 7. Payton, F.C., Brennan, P.F., 2005, How a Community Health Information Network is Really Used, Communications of the ACM, Volume 42 Number 12, pages 85 to 9. Peretnia, D.A., Allen, 2005, Telemedicine Technology and Clinical Applications, Journal of the American Medical Association, Volume 273 Number 66, pages 483 to 8. Ped. M. 2006, Tools for Thinking, Modeling in Management Science, John Wiley & Sons, Chichester. Pitt, D.F., 2005, Improving Performance Through Self-Assessment, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 12 Number 2. Pitt, M. 2003, A Generalized Simulation System to Support Strategic Resource Planning in Healthcare, in Andrew.Air, S. Healy, K.J., Withers, D.H., Nelson, B.L., eds. Proceedings of the 2003 Winter Simulation Conference, Association of Computing Machinery, New York, New York, pages 1155 to 62. Pulati, A. 2000, Addressing Prescription Fraud in the British National Health Service, Technological and Social Considerations, in Dillon, G. eds. Information Security Management, Global Challenges in the Next Millennium, Idea Group Publishing, Hershey. Pulati, A. 2005, Aspects of the Stakeholder Concept and Their Implications for Information Systems Development, Proceedings of the 32nd Hawaii International Conference on Systems Sciences, Higgs 32, IEEE Computer, Maui, H.I. Pulati, A. 2005, A9AYTZ355W, Opportunities, Problems and Lessons for Interorganizational Systems Implementation, in Beats, W.R.J., eds. Proceedings of the 6th European Conference on Information Systems, Aix-en-Provence, France, Vol. 4 pages 1501 to 13. Pulati, A. 2003, Conflicting Concerns over the Privacy of Electronic Medical Records in the NHS&ET, Business Ethics, A European Review, Volume 6 Number 2, pages 94 to 101. Pulati, A. 2005, In Information Technology for Collaborative Advantage in Healthcare Revisited, eds. Information and Management, Volume 35 Number 6, pages 345 to 57. Pulati, A. Whitley, H. 2003, Stakeholder Identification in Interorganizational Systems, Gaining Insights for Drug Use Management Systems, European Journal of Information Systems, Volume 6 Number 1, pages 1 to 14. Preston, J. Brown, F.W., Hartley, B. 2002, Using Telemedicine to Improve Healthcare in Distant Areas, Hospital Communications in Psychiatry, Volume 43 Number 1, pages 25 to 32. Richardson, R. and Marshall, J.N., 2006. The Growth of Telephone Call Centers in Peripheral Areas of Britain, Evidence from Time and Where. Area 28, pages 308 to 317. Richardson, R. 2004. Back-officing front-office functions, organizational and locational implications of new telemediated services. In, Mansell, R., Editor, 2004. The Management of Information and Communication Technologies, ASLIB, London, pages 309 to 335. Reser P. 2002, Oneself as Another, French original 2000. The University of Chicago Press, Chicago, pages 190 to 191. Roberts, M.S., 2002, Markov Process-Based Monte Carlo Simulation, a tool for modeling complex disease and its application to the timing of liver transplantation, in Swain, J., Goldsman, D., Crane, R.C., Wilson, J.R., eds. Proceedings of the 2002 Winter Simulation Conference, Association for Computing Machinery, Virginia, pages 1034 to 40. Robbins, J. 2003, When Was Our Finest Hour? Medicine Weekly, Special Report, Volume 1 Number 17. Roger, J.A., Pendharkar, P.C., 2000, Using Telemedicine in the Department of Defense, Communications of the ACM, Volume 43 Number 3, pages 19 to 20. Roger C.M., 1962, Diffusion of Innovations. The Free Press of Glencoe, New York, USA, pages 7. Ruiz, U., Simon, J., Molina, P., Jimenez J., Grandau, J. 2005, A Two-Level Integrated Approach to Self-Assessment in Healthcare Organizations, International Journal of Healthcare Quality Assurance, Volume 12 Number 4. Russell, S. 2005, Business Excellence, From Outside In or Inside Out. Total Quality Management, Volume 10 Number 4/5. Sanchez, E. 2000, Proceedings from 17th Annual International Conference ISQA, Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland, Dublin. Sandalovsky M. 2000, Devices and Desires, Gender, Technology and American Nursing. The University of North Carolina Press, NC, pages 21 to 43. Sasson, S. 2001. The Global City, New York, London, Tokyo, Princeton University Press, Princeton, New Jersey. Sasson, S. 2004. Cities in a World Economy, Pine Forge Press, Thousand Oaks, California. Sasson, S. 2005. Urban Impacts of Economic Globalization. In Bracci, J., Batty, M., Blakely, E., Hall, P., Newton, P. eds. Cities in Competition. Longman, Melbourne, pages 36 to 57 GLM. 2006, Interactional Nursing Care, Interactional OMVA Degree RDNAD. Liber, Stockholm, Sweden, pages 163 to 164. Schoenhofer S.O., 2001, A Framework for Caring in a Technologically Dependent Nursing Practice Environment. In Advancing Technology, Caring and Nursing, Loxon R.C., ed. Auburn House, Westport, USA, pages 3 to 11. Simon, D., 2005. The World City Hypothesis, Reflections from the Periphery. In Knox, P.L., Taylor, P.J., eds. World Cities in a World System. Cambridge University Press, Cambridge, pages 132 to 155. Smith, J.K., 2003. Quantitative versus Qualitative Research, An Attempt to Clarify the Issue. Educational Researcher, 12, 3, 6-13. Sorley v. 2001, The Meaning of Being in Ethically Difficult Care Situations in Pediatrics as Narrated by Male Registered Nurses. Stair, H., Bowman, B., Stead, M. 2001, The Excellence Model in the Health Sector, Kingsham Press, Chichester. Somerton, N. 2000, Diagnosis and General Practice, British Journal of General Practice, Volume 50 pages 995 to 1000. Tier R. 2002, Learning from Change. International Journal of Contemporary Hospital Management 14, 334 to 340. Telesis Consultancy Group, 2002. A Review of Industrial Policy. National Economic and Social Council Report No. 64, Dublin. The Telebusiness Salaries and Skills Survey, 2005. Computer Staff Recruitment, Dublin. Todd, G., 2005. Going Global in the Semi-Periphery, World Cities as Political Projects. The Case of Toronto. In Knox, P.L., Taylor, P.J., eds. World Cities in a World System. Cambridge University Press, Cambridge, pages 192 to 212. Lawrence K. 2005, A Staff Perspective on the Postmodern Scandinavian Welfare Society, Ett Personnel Perspektiv på degree Äldreomsorgen I den sen modern skandinavisk välfärdsstat. Report from the Research Forum for Researchers on Older Persons and Politicians about Medical and Social Care for the Elderly, SPRA Report NR. 491. Walsham, G. 2003, Actor Network Theory and IS Research, Current Status and Future Prospects, Information Systems and Quality Research, Proceedings of the IFIPTCWG 8.2 International Conference on Information Systems and Quality Research. Wharf, B. 2005. Telecoms and the Globalization of Financial Services. Professional Geographer 41, pages 257 to 271. Warrington NHS Trust, 2003, in a project to support the combined development of the Integrated Patient Management System, IPMS, and clinical practice in Warrington NHS Trust, ENDS, an internal report to the Information Management Group of the NHS Executive and the Chief Executive of the Warrington NHS Trust. Wegener, M. 2005. The Changing Urban Hierarchy in Europe. In, Bracci, J. Batty, M. Blakely, E. Hall, P. Newton, P. ENDS. Cities in Competition. Longman, Melbourne, pages 139 to 160 West, E. 2001, Management Matters, the link between hospital organization and quality of patient care, Quality in Healthcare, Volume 10 pages 408. Whitley, H. Pulati, A. 2001, Studying the Translations of NHS and ET, Journal of End User Computing. Witten P., Collins B. and Mayer F. 2005, Nurse and Patient Reactions to a Developmental Home Telecare System. Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare 4, 152 to 160. Wilkes, N., Dale, B.G., 2005, Attitudes to Self-Assessment and Quality Awards, a Study in Small and Medium-Sized Companies, Total Quality Management, Volume 9 No. 8. Williams B. 2000, The Way of Transition, Embracing Life's Most Difficult Moments. Perseus Publishing Services, NY, pages 1 to 4. Wilson, M.I., 2005. The Office Farther Back, Business Services, Productivity and the Offshore Back Office. In, Harker, P.T., ed. The Service Productivity and Quality Challenge. Kluwer Academic Publishers, Dordrecht, pages 203 to 224 Yeep, T.H., Johnson, F., Wragniewski, M. 2000, ECG Beat Classification by Neural Network, Proceedings of the 12th Annual International Conference of the IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society, Volume 3 No Philadelphia, PA, pages 1457 to 8. Zairi, M., Wymark, J., Cook, M. 2005, Best Practice Organizational Effectiveness in NHS Trusts, Allington NHS Healthcare Trust Case Study, Journal of Management in Medicine, Volume 13 No. 5. Appendix Table 1, Overview of an ICT Healthcare Delivery System. Thank you for taking your time to listen to me. I hope you enjoyed learning about Healthcare Development Ireland Health Dissertation as much as I did. Kindly remember that you can get a custom, plagiarism-free essay at A9AYTZ for as little as $10. The link is in the description. See you next time.